everyone, how you doing tonight? Monday night, another beautiful summer day to enjoy, at least here in beautiful Connecticut. Appreciate everybody being here with the Voice of College Football. We are slated to have a good time with you, talking up the game we all love. Let's do it. Number is 860-499-3332. If you were coming across our channel for the first time, we are the Voice of College Football. Am I the Voice of College Football? I will leave that up for you to determine. Our channel is the Voice of College Football. Our network is the Voice of College Football. Most of the helmets you see behind me are represented with team channels, so check them out. For example, if you're a Clemson fan, you need to lock in on our Clemson channel. We are posting videos almost every day there, multiple times per week, every week, so check it out. We've got Clemson, Virginia Tech, North Carolina, Miami, and Florida State in the ACC. So check out those videos. We've got about 25 team channels. Check them out. Phone lines will be open at 860-499-3332. We are checking out over-under totals. I looked at these a few minutes ago. I did not look at the actual over-under totals, but I looked at several sites just to see where we would go for our information. The real MVP called the other night, and he did this several times in the last few weeks where he laid out some over-unders for me, and I appreciate that. And there's a lot of college football. I'm not going to call this news. This is not news necessarily. It's made-up news, but that's fine. It's content for folks like us that enjoy the wagering side, trying to beat the game, trying to beat the man. So we enjoy this. And a lot of these type news items come out, and I completely miss them. So I believe these win totals came out 2 or 3 days ago. I did not see them, except for the real MVP let me know. And I'm sure I would have seen them elsewhere. I did a little bit later on social media. So I've gone to several sites, and now I'm starting to look into not necessarily each individual team, but I'm seeing what Vegas is doing with the odds. See, a number of those over-unders that the real MVP presented to me stumped me. They were just about what I had guessed. So if you caught our show the other night, and he's done this a few times, he'll say, Mark, I like to guess the over-under before I let everyone know whether I would go higher or lower. But you got to take a betting consideration into this, because the payout for the sides is typically not even close to even. So they are swaying. Vegas is swaying everybody in one direction or the other. And because it's not a point spread, the numbers are there is a great distinction between each number. It's not like a game in which Vegas can get the betting line right where they want it and have basically even money on both sides in regards to the payout, being if you are into this minus 110. Minus 110 would be the even payout for both sides. It means that Vegas is getting a cut, which is 9 to 10%. So Vegas gets 9 to 10% automatically. They are paying out 90 to 91%. Minus 110 means that you have to bet 110 to win, to net $100 on a win. Of course, if you lose $110. If you win, you get $100 net. And typically, if you look at most of the betting lines for any week in college football, and if you look at the point spreads, almost all of them are negative 110 on both sides. That means it's an even play. So you're strictly looking at the betting line and thinking, okay, do I want to take Rutgers and 7.5 against Maryland? There's no consideration to the payout because it's the same on both sides. But when I'm looking at these over-unders, there is a huge discrepancy between the two, and it makes sense. I don't think that Vegas is obviously working this to their advantage, but they know the math. They do better math than any of us. But it's not necessarily underhanded. They basically, Air Force, 8.5. Again, the distinction between 8 and 8.5 and 9 is decisive. It's more than 3 to 3.5 in an actual game. So the payouts need to be set accordingly. It can't be even, because Vegas is even at setting Air Force at 8.5. They are clearly stating, with the payout at minus 145 over, minus 145 over means you have to pay out 145 to win 100. You've got to risk the 145 to make 100, versus the under is plus 125. So if you bet 100, you get 125. It's a much better play for the under. So if you're thinking that this number is a really good number and it's dead on, well, you would want to play the under, because your payout is considerably more. You're going to net $125 on a $100 bet, as opposed to on a $100 bet for the over, you're only going to make 65 or 70 bucks. So that's a consideration on the over unders. I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination on any of this, but it's fun. And you guys are going to prep me for two things. So we're just going to go through the over unders. I have not gone through these except for what the Real MVP served me the other night, and maybe a few other times here recently, I think. So I have not seen these. So I'm not going to be definitive in my responses, but we're going to look at these over the next several days, and I'll be producing a video, and I will give you my over unders, which you can, of course, take to the bank. I haven't kept track of my over-unders in the past. Maybe I should go back and do a lot of digging, find the videos, and give you my record on over-unders. On Tuesday, we record with Steve Dace. So I'll be on the Michigan podcast with Steve Dace, and he's going to present to me his over-unders and get my take. So I'm going to have to do a little homework before the Michigan podcast on Tuesday afternoon. That gets released, I think, a few hours after we record, so be looking out for that over on Michigan Podcast. And speaking of Steve Dace, and I might as well actually promote the show while I'm here. I've got no graphics up, nothing. This is how poorly run this place is. It's just gone down the toilet here. Just nothing for you to look at besides me and my helmets. Okay. Yes, as it says on the ticker down below, you've got Cash App, Venmo, and PayPal. Search Mark Rogers TV. And yes, that's me. And if you're coming across our channel for the first time, we've got a series of channels. We've got the main channel right here where we cover national topics. Hope you'll lock it in for the football season. So get set. This is what we do all the time. We treat college football in May and June like most people treat it in November. We do have a call coming in, so we will put the over and unders on hold and take our first call of the night. Welcome into the Voice of College Football. Who's on the line?
Hey, Mark, what's going on?
Not too much. Who am I talking to?
This is Exploring with Ben and Sam.
Exploring
Sam's
with Ben.
on here right now.
I'm sorry, I did not recognize your voice. That's why I ask everybody to identify themselves. It's impossible for me to.
I know.
Can't even tell when my son calls me.
I tried to sound super cheery tonight. I just wanted the mic drop for being in the Real MVP.
Yes, you have taken over the spot for the night. Well done by you. I think it's more about him lacking. It's more about him slacking tonight than it is about you just
maybe
jumping the gun and being
Mark,
here.
Mark, you can hire me. You just have to match my annual revenue that I make in my job, but you need to fire the rest of your production crew because they all suck.
I haven't been able to match my income. We got to work on that first. Let's work on my income. Yeah, we're not even close.
I'm just offering my services.
We're much
That's
happier
all I'm doing.
not being at that other place, but we're much happier. That's the important thing.
That unnamed four-letter network
Doesn't have to be unnamed. Everybody knows. Everybody that watches on a regular basis
knows.
knows.
At this point.
It was a good job. Wink,
All
wink.
right, so
okay, go to it.
Yeah. I'm not gonna take any time because a lot of people are gonna call in. Of course, the real MCs, of course, are gonna call in. I'm sure Tim will put his 2 cents in about USC Junior. Until they have a better record in South Carolina, they will be USC Junior.
Ooh,
I think that's fair.
South Carolina Junior or SC Junior. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll let you guys battle that out.
So, well, there's nothing to battle about.
Oh, okay. Again, I'll let you guys determine that. I've got my own thoughts about it, but
well, of course, everyone does. I don't know what the over/under is this year, like actually for Oregon, of course, but I would say if they said 9.5. Oh, let's just shoot high. Let's say 10.5. I'll take the under for Oregon this year, of course. I'm not going to go ridiculous with them. If they said 9, I might. I don't know. Even I don't know.
You think it's 10.5? It's
no.
If someone
said 10.5, I would take the under.
8.5.
Oregon. I think they're going to go 8 or 9 wins. I don't think they're going to. It's Dan Lanning's first year. I'm not expecting a whole lot. I mean, high expectations, but modest results. It's his first year. Plus with that schedule, BYU and Georgia. I mean, that's not. Those are not. Giving games. Obviously, Georgia especially. BYU is no joke.
It's actually 8.5, and you get paid out more if you take the over.
8.5. Ooh. If it's 8.5,
yeah.
Okay. I would take the over then.
Yeah, so they got to go 9-3, and you would make, I don't know if you're big into wagering, but you would make $115 on your $100 play, as opposed to have to pay out $135 to make $100 if you go with the under. That's a huge difference.
I'd go with the over then. If it's 8.5, I'd go with the over just because I think it's going to be 9. I'm not a betting man. If I go to a casino and I actually wanted to go high roller, I would lose so much money.
Well, that's good for you. That's good for you. It's better to stay far, far away. Too many people with problems out there.
Yeah. And I see why, because I went to a casino really for the first time in my life a couple of months ago, and after a couple hours just doing dollar slots, I was like, yeah, I see why people would lose their mind in this place.
See, I enjoy it, but I treat it as a project. I treat it as a challenge, and I've not put $1 on a game for 5 or 6 years at least. And I could tomorrow. Like if I could go into this season and say, you know what, I want to go through an experiment, see how I stand and what I do. And I could start in and say, I'm going to go $10 a game or whatever the figure, and go get right back into it and do it. But it doesn't, like, I'm not captivated by it to that degree. I guess doing the predictions here gives me enough of a outlet that everybody else can put their money on the games.
Yeah, that's smart. That's it. I think a lot of people go a little overboard with, especially the money situation. So, all right, Mark, I'm going to get off here. I'll let Jarrell and B get in here, and Tim talk smack as usual.
Go to it. I'll enjoy it from here.
So, I'll be in the chat. I'll just talk smack to them there. Have a good night.
I know it. We'll see you. Have a good one. All right. Before we take our next call, a few reminders here that we've got an Amazon link in the description section of the videos. So please check it out in the description section of all the videos. So if you're going to shop at Amazon, which most of you do at some point, I know that some of you automatically say, when I say that, I don't shop at Amazon. You may not. More than half America every month does. That's not even like at some point in their lifetimes, or every month. More than half of the country shops at Amazon. So I'm applying those statistics to my audience, thinking, okay, 100,000 views this month involving maybe 70,000 people, 35,000 people shopped at Amazon that watched my videos this month. So, and that's just on the main channels. So if they would use the link in the description section, that would help out everybody. Of course, me first and foremost, admittedly, but builds the channel. Also, we've got some content out there for you. So we delivered the Alabama National Championships video, whether they are legit or not, standing at 18. What do you think? Should we add championships to Bama's total or subtract? We went through all of them. Check out the Alabama video. Then we did Ohio State and produced that and posted that earlier today. So see if Ohio State added national championships, lost national championships. We go through every national championship season, and we go through each particular season in which that team could claim a national championship to review it and say, this one's earned, this one is not earned. I think this sets us up pretty well for the next phone call. All right, here we go. Welcome to the Voice of College Football. Who's on the line?
Chris.
Hey, Chris.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. Oh, you want me to talk about the championship?
Well,
I already told you what I
know
think of it.
we had a talk about the championship. I know that we had the only thing that I responded to that you posted here in the last few days was, well, in addition to you calling me a liar a number of times, I don't even know what that means. I don't even know how to respond to that, except for I think when you're talking opinion, it's kind of difficult to be a liar. So anyway, well, I'll get past that, because that, Chris, you need to choose your words.
I know it's not a very nice thing to tell somebody.
No, it's not a nice thing to say. Like, I'm not lying about anything. What am I lying about? Well, I had an opinion and evaluation on something. I'm not lying about it.
Wasn't your argument that Florida State had the worst loss in '98? Wasn't that the entire argument, or am I wrong?
Yes. So is this what you told me that I was lying about, quote, lying about? So let me explain something. So I just want to lay this.
That's a lie.
Pardon me?
That's not true. So that's not the truth. So I kind of interpret that to be a lie.
It's perspective. How is that a lie? I didn't say that there are 37 states in the United States. That's a lie. I said that to take it within that same context.
Maybe you get on me for the way I phrased.
I said that California is the most beautiful state. Is that a lie? No, that's not a lie. It's not the truth. It's perspective. It is a perspective. It's an opinion. It's an evaluation. Nothing I stated was a lie. So before you say anything, Chris, I want to set the audience up for this, because they probably don't know what we're talking about. So 1998, the first year of the BCS championship game, Tennessee played Florida State for the national championship. Tennessee was undefeated.
Right.
They were the #1 team in the country. We had 6 teams with 1 loss. I simply stated that in my estimation and evaluation, which is a good one, it's not throwing darts in the dark. It's a quality perspective on this, of knowledge, based in knowledge and expertise, that Florida State, in my estimation, had the worst loss of the 6 teams. They lost to a 6-5 North Carolina State team by 17 points.
They got beat. Yeah, I know that.
Yeah. So who had a worse loss? If I was lying, who had a worse loss?
Well, it's going to make you mad, Mark. That's why I don't want to really bring it up.
It's not going to make me mad.
There's Ohio State had a worse loss.
Okay,
you're not going to agree with me. So it's like,
no, I don't agree with you, because
No, you don't, but it
They
doesn't really matter, but it's the
lost
truth.
on the last play of the game to a similarly team of similar status, a Michigan State team that also went 6-5, correct?
Well, if you don't count the bowl loss, I guess. I mean, you're right, but you're not right because North Carolina State finished 7-5, and Michigan State finished 6-6. But I guess if you don't want to count the bowl loss, don't. I don't like splitting hairs anyway, so it's not going to really change anything.
Well, we can count the bowl game. That's fine. I'm just telling you.
Okay, well then you're wrong. Then if you count the bowl game, then you're wrong. So if you don't count the bowl game, then you're like not wrong. But if you do count the bowl game, then you're wrong.
That's okay if we count the bowl game. Whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Ohio State didn't get drubbed. Ohio State didn't get drubbed back and forth down the field by a marginal football team. They lost the game. Absolutely, they lost the game. But I was making an evaluation of the performance in which they lost the game versus NC State generally dominating the game against Florida State, and Ohio State actually had a huge lead in that game, blew it, lost the game.
I won't deny that Florida State got their ass handed to them in the sling. That's probably fair. But I don't know that it really matters. I think a loss is a loss, whether it's by 2 points or 10. But yeah, you're probably right. It was probably a little bit more towards the other end of it. I'm not sure that really matters, but I mean, yeah, I guess that might be a valid point to make.
It mattered. It mattered to the BCS formula at the time.
Okay.
Correct?
It probably did. I don't know. Well, I don't know for sure, to be honest with you. I have a hard time kind of really even myself making sense of how they position teams. It didn't really add up in my head either. I don't know if it added up in yours or not. I don't know necessarily how they went about picking the teams, but I don't think that they did the wrong thing by including Florida State. That's where I think we disagree. I don't think that was a mistake. You make it sound like it was a mistake, and I completely disagree on that. I think it was probably the best thing they could have done. But
it was the best thing. Why? Why was it the best thing they could have done was choose
Florida
State?
I can give you, but it's like you're going to just laugh at it, so why should I tell you? I mean, North Carolina State lost
what did you call for? If you're not going to tell me your opinion.
No, I will. I'll definitely tell you, but you'll probably laugh about it. North Carolina State lost to Baylor. All right, go ahead. North Carolina State lost to Baylor. Baylor was like 2-9, I think. That might actually weigh in your advantage as far as making it a following week after they beat Florida State, they lost to Baylor. Baylor was like 2-9. Well, they were. And they lost, I think they lost to Colorado, and of course Colorado lost to Kansas State. So it all goes down, really, if you want to know the truth, it all goes down to Kansas State losing to Texas A&M in the championship game. If that doesn't happen, then it's clear sailing for Kansas State, which I think is actually, in my opinion, another thing that says the BCS was probably the fairest way. I don't know that we'd be talking about a Kansas State versus Tennessee championship game if it wasn't for the BCS. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know enough about it to really say whether it would or not. But after Kansas State lost, then are you still going to let Kansas State in? I don't know. I guess that's one choice they could have done. Still let them in even after they lost.
Let's back up in this conversation.
I don't know that I would have done that.
Let's back up in this conversation about 1 minute. You are defending the selection of Florida State because they lost to North Carolina. Because they lost to North Carolina State, who was 7-5, who lost to Baylor, who was 2-9, and this is where I lost your 6 degrees of separation. What does any of this have to do with selecting the best
There's
team?
Another lie. Okay, you tell me not to call you out on a lie. There's a lie right there. 6 degrees. I think maybe 2 at the most. That's not a lie.
It's a phrase,
well,
Chris.
I mean, no,
you need to stop taking things so literally. Like my goodness, Chris.
Well.
Calm down.
You just said 6, though. You just said 6.
Whatever. We're having a conversation.
Okay. Actually, I wasn't finished, but the other point I was going to try to make was Baylor, before they got beat by, because Baylor lost to Colorado. That's what happened. They lost to Colorado. Colorado lost to Kansas State. Kansas State was undefeated until they played Texas A&M. They lost to Texas A&M. They went to overtime, but they actually got beat. Before they beat North Carolina State, they lost to Oregon State. The season opener, Oregon State lost to USC, and USC lost to Florida State. So in a backtrack, if you can let me do a backtrack, it's basically all it is.
I was
Florida
lost
State,
about 30 seconds ago on
it's
that.
not that hard to.
You need to write
Baylor,
a term paper. You need to write a term paper and
No.
connect all these dots for everyone, because basically
I'm not connecting dots. I'm just telling you what happened.
Baylor, the way
they-
you determine who you think should go to a national championship game, it's based on like games that are played by two teams that aren't even connected. Well, they're connected by like 3 or 4 degrees to the team that we're
2 or 3. There you
considering.
go again. Another exaggeration, maybe 2 or 3 degrees. Not
Okay,
3 or
I
4,
said 3 or
whatever.
4. You said 2 or 3. Again,
Yeah.
Chris,
Well,
you need to gain a little
because one
perspective on life.
because one person's
that would
telling the
help you
truth and the other
considerably.
person's making.
That would help you considerably if you
It's
would
really-
just
It's really
maybe
hard.
loosen up a little
It's hard
bit.
to connect the dots between.
Maybe
It's hard to connect the dots between Baylor.
maybe
Baylor
maybe
beating-
just
or, I'm sorry,
loosen
Baylor-
up a little bit. Just loosen up a
No.
little bit. Relax for a second and understand when I say 3 to 4 degrees separation,
2 to
that
3.
you don't need to
Well,
call
2 to
me
3,
a
but whatever.
liar because it's 2 to 3, not 3 to 4.
Well,
That
that's
might
not
be one of the
different.
reasons why nobody can follow you, Chris. Please just explain things, and we've got a lot
Well,
of
what else do you
patience
want me
here
to
to
tell
listen
you?
to you.
What? No, I don't know that that's really a fair statement. Like I don't know what I'm talking about or something. Like I'm talking baloney or something.
I didn't say you didn't know
Baylor
what you were
went
talking
2
about. That now you talk
Well,
about
yeah, you
putting
kinda did.
words in my mouth. I said it was difficult for people to follow you. I didn't say you didn't know what you were talking about. Those are 2 entirely different things.
All right. How hard is it to understand that Baylor, even though they lost like 7 other games, started out by losing to Oregon State. Oregon State, I think, went undefeated until they lost to USC, and USC got beat by Florida State. That's too hard for someone to follow. I mean, come on.
Well, Chris,
That's not that hard for me to follow. I don't understand how it could be.
number
point
one,
is-
number
the point
one,
is Florida State-
you connect so many dots, they're irrelevant. By the time you connect 4 dots from a particular team, it's irrelevant. I can have
I
every
don't think
team.
so.
I can have every team in America beating any team in America if I connect enough dots. I've done it a zillion times with people. I've said, okay, you want me to tell you that South Alabama is better than Clemson? Let's do it. Here we go. Do dot, 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 do, do. Through, and you can figure it out at
No.
some point.
Well, yeah, and the longer the chain, the less relevant it becomes. I understand that. If it was like 6 degrees, like you were saying, it wouldn't matter. But
Oh,
it's what? It's from
3 degrees
no.
matters.
It's-
6 does not. Okay. All right. I'm just
no. I'm not
trying to
even
follow
saying that.
along.
Or you look into it. I mean, it's fine. You don't have to listen to me. Baylor lost to Oregon State. They were only like 2-9. They weren't any good. Baylor sucked. I'm not going to say they were any good, but they started out by losing to Oregon State. Oregon State went like 2 or 3 in a row. Lost to USC. They're like 3-0 and then 3-1, I guess, after losing to USC. And then USC lost to Florida State. I mean, that's just a fact. I don't know what to tell you about it. You can say it doesn't matter, but and then from that point on, Florida State, they cruised. They didn't lose another game.
Chris,
USC went 8-4. I mean, I don't know.
One of the
That's bad.
issues is you're not even either listening or understanding my very first observation was not that Florida State did not deserve to be in the national championship game. I've never
Well,
said that.
That's not even my best argument.
I never
That's
said
not
that.
even my best argument.
I never said that.
Well, no, that's not even my best argument.
I don't care what your
So let's
best
just go ahead
argument
and
is.
throw
You're
that
not
out.
listening to me again.
Well, you will. You will once I tell you what it is. You'll care.
Listen,
Look at Florida in 1998. They'll just
you're
do.
not even.
Look at Florida in 19.
Yes, I know how good Florida was in 1998. Okay.
Well,
Yes.
what was their record then? You know so much. You tell me what their record was without looking at the schedule. What were they?
I believe they
How
were
good were
10-2 after they won the Orange Bowl.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Okay.
You put
And
me
who
on the
did they-
spot
who were
because
the
I
two
wouldn't
teams
know what the record was. So you just had to put me on the spot. What's Florida's record in 1998, Mark? Because you're not going to know it.
Well, who are their 2 losses to?
Okay, Chris,
You should know that. Who were
you
they?
didn't
Well, who were
even
they?
understand. Well, they, of course, lost to Tennessee. Okay, listen.
Okay. And who else?
So
else?
you are not even, let's
Florida
go
State.
back to the beginning of this conversation. We'll go back to the beginning of not even just here on the phone, going back many, many months. I have never stated that Florida State did not earn a national championship game appearance. That has never come out of my mouth. And you probably can't tell me what you're even arguing with me about because you don't know what I've stated. Why have I made a big deal about 1998?
I think I do.
Then what's my
No,
claim?
I think it's an unfounded argument.
What's my claim?
I think your argument's unfounded. Is kind
What
of
is it? Do you even know what it is? I guarantee you don't know what it is.
Yeah, there were like 7 other teams that have the equal claim as Florida State, something like that.
We had
6 or 7 other teams.
Well, we had 6 total teams that had similar resumes to Florida State. I didn't say they were exact. Nobody has exact resumes. But that's the issue, and that's another defense.
And of all the teams, they picked the one with the worst loss. That's the argument.
They did.
Which is a lie.
No, it's not a lie.
Which is a lie. Yes, it is.
Chris, go back.
That's a lie.
You need to understand the definition and meaning of truth and lies and perspective and opinion. Okay? Maybe you should go do that. That would be a good thing for you to work on tonight. Work on that tonight.
7-5.
Yeah. Why don't you work on that tonight, Chris? Go into a nice quiet room and maybe look up some material online that would distinguish lies from truth versus things that are opinion. Opinion based on logic and perspective, not just throwing darts opinion, flipping coins, logic, perspective, evaluation. That's not perfect. Never said my opinion or evaluation of any of this was perfect. I've stated that a zillion times when I run through national championships or give my opinion or perspective on the way a particular playoff vote was made for those 4 teams selected or BCS championship game. Never once have I ever said my opinion, my evaluation was perfect. Never. It's called a perspective. It's an opinion. It's valid. I have a lot of knowledge and information. There's no question about that. But it's not perfect. All right. Way to get us revved up here. Welcome to the Voice of College Football. Who's on the line?
Hey, Mark. That was stressful. Oh, I'm sorry. It's George. Mark, how are you?
I'm doing just fine. What's going on?
Oh, my gosh. Who was that last caller?
That's our guy, Chris. You haven't heard Chris before?
Yeah, I wanted to make sure before I caught an attitude.
That was Chris. And I appreciate Chris calling.
Right.
I appreciate Chris being in the chat. And I appreciate all of his comments to the channel. But don't call me a liar. How can we even be lying about things? It's an opinion. It's so beyond ludicrous that it's funny.
You know, some people think Oregon is more beautiful than California, but that's just they're both right. Some people think California.
This is what proves what Chris and I just did was utterly useless. Is we just had this football conversation about 1998 and Chris threw out like 82 teams and scores, and what George got out of all that was me making a theoretical comment. It wasn't necessarily the truth from my perspective, just making an analogy. That's the last thing that George got out of that conversation.
No, it was the perfect example. You know, just because you said it's just an opinion is like, and it's a good opinion.
But it's also an opinion that there could be some logic, some perspective given to it that a lot of people would say, okay, I get your point. Beautiful mountains, the beach, the weather's great, the blue skies, it hardly rained. You know, there's some, you know, I could also say this trash dumpster that's just spilling over with disgusting, smelly trash. This is beautiful. Now, that's still my perspective and opinion, but that has less credibility because people would be like, this is obviously, this is not the epitome of beauty. So there is.
It's all relative. It's all relative. There's some homeless people in Oregon that actually believe that last statement. They would say that.
This is true.
This is my favorite dumpster. Hey, can I get off football for a minute?
Sure, for a minute.
I wrecked on a mountain bike the other day. I think I hit a prairie dog hole. I thought my leg was broke for 2 days. I still ain't gone to the doctor. I think I got a concussion. My shoulders messed up. My kids that come by and best friends that come by, they all go to the store for me. Somebody actually bought me some muscle relaxers today because I can't sleep more than an hour at a time. To get out of bed takes me like 20 minutes. I got to crawl on my hands and knees. I didn't have no crutches. I need one of those rollers like you put your knee on it and scoot along. I have a ottoman with wheels on it, so I've been using that. What a messed up 48 hours. It's like I was perfectly healthy and normal, and it just in 1 second, like wham, bam, thank you, man.
So you hit this hole, and you just went flying.
Head over heels.
And
I didn't land right. I thought I fractured right below my knee on my right leg. That I'm thinking it's a deep bone bruise after 2 days because I can put my weight on it and stand on it. I have to hold on. But I just think if it was actually fractured, I wouldn't be able to do that. So I think it's bruised bone and muscles, but it's not the actual bone itself. I called a health food store. They're sending me these. You know what CBD is? That derivative of marijuana that doesn't get you high.
Heard of it.
But it's anti-inflammatory. Yeah, they're sending me the strongest pills you can get. And I think that's like $85 a bottle. But there's a certain way to get that out of there without all the oil in it, so it doesn't make you sick or mess you up taking it. So I'm going to have all this stuff in a couple of days. I won't do an aspirin or an ibuprofen or Tylenol. I don't have any in the house. I wouldn't use it if I did. So I got to get turmeric. I used to do this for years. Every day I would eat turmeric and ginger and cinnamon and black pepper mixed in honey. And there's all kind of health reasons for that. But the number one reason is it's anti-inflammatory. And apparently a lot of people in America have inflammation and they don't even know it, you know? So that's why I did that. And it's an anti-cancer thing. So today when I called the lady at the health food store to tell her the problem, she goes, George, what are you doing? You got all the shit in the house you need. Like, you used to teach me about this shit. Why don't you start doing it? And I went, I think I have a concussion. I forgot. Yeah. Tim Prangley said, just rip that bong. In all honesty, I've only taken like 2 puffs since this happened. I'm so messed up. I spend all, it's hard to explain when your bell gets rung, you know? I'm just trying to limit the acute pain by moving my leg 1 inch this way or that way for my shoulder. Anyway, I'm sure I'm going to be okay, or I wouldn't have told you.
What are the doctors telling you about recovery and what you need to do and how long it's going to take?
I'm not going to the doctor.
Well, you got to be going somewhere.
I'm not going to the doctor.
So you haven't gone anywhere for anything?
I'm my own doctor. I heal myself. That's why I studied all my life. If I had a bone protruding from my leg, I'd go to the doctor. There's no bone sticking out of my skin. I'm fine. I'm not going through no COVID protocols. I'm not wearing a mask.
Very good for you, George. You're on the road to recovery. That's horrible to hear about your incident, but
it's unfortunate. If I went through a windshield or something, you know, if I get shot, if I have a bone sticking out, I'll go to the doctor. I'm not dumb, but I'm not going for internal medicine. You know, I don't trust some people. Hey, I'll let you know if I'm okay in a few days.
Well, yes, let us know. Keep in contact. And man, I hate to hear all that. I'm glad that you're out there biking. I don't know if you're going to do that again, but that's of course your call.
It was just spur of the moment. Thought hey, look, you just can't be too careful. You can slip. I've almost slipped in the shower a few times in my life. That is a scary sensation, right? When your foot starts slipping in the shower and you're like, oh my God, I'm glad I didn't go down.
Yeah, because it seems like a simple thing. It seems like a stupid thing, but we hear that all the time, that more people slip in the shower and get seriously hurt than a lot of other things, this is common. Yeah.
Hey, listen, I was a dairyman. I treated the cows for years. All that medicine we use to treat the cows is identical to the stuff your doctor gives you. They don't make veterinarian ibuprofen or veterinarian amoxicillin or veterinarian grade anything. It's human grade. So all farmers go to the feed store and they get the exact same medicine that humans use, that they know how to administer it to themselves. You follow me? So the people making jokes, and they're being my friends, but they're saying George goes to a vet or George uses the same vet as his cat does. They're actually right. I do. Lemansky
George.
said he delivered me some.
We will get on to the rest of our folks here. Yeah?
Gary Lewis said, physician, heal thyself, and that's true. That's how it works. You have to be responsible for yourself. Like
That's
I
right.
say, if you got a catastrophic injury, you're in trouble without a surgeon. But other than that, it's old timers understood how to do all this shit. And Navy SEALs understand how to do it. Just
I would agree with all of that.
Training.
I definitely do. Well, George, keep in touch. Let us know how you're doing. I will send one up for you tonight.
See you all in the chat.
Thanks, George.
Talk to you later, Mark.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Our man George had an incident there. That's hard to listen to. But I'm glad he's confident in taking care of himself. And I fully believe in that. I have seen it over and over and over and heard from enough people that if you understand what's good for you and what you should be putting in your body and how you should be resting, sleeping, exercising, eating, if we all did those things that we knew to do or could easily research, we would have a much healthier country. Before I take this next call, an example here on what I was telling Chris a few minutes ago, that I can have any team in the country practically. Georgia didn't lose a game. They lost to Alabama, but you can go through that. You can go through that cycle as well, even with Georgia and Alabama down the line. But this was an easy one to do. Ohio State lost to Oregon. Oregon lost to Stanford. Stanford lost to Cal. Cal lost to Arizona. Arizona lost to Northern Arizona. So Ohio State going to lose to Northern Arizona. You make the call. All right. Next up here, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
Hey, Mark. Corey, how are you?
Good. Who am I talking to?
This is your buddy over at the Iowa channel. This is Corey.
Oh, that's Corey. I am horrible at recognizing people's voices.
Yes, I won't keep you on the line. I know you got other people that you want to talk to, but just for the record, I tuned in, and the first two callers were Chris and George, so I know you're doing something right. Second thing I want to say is, this topic of over/under or win totals for the 22 year. I'm curious, have you looked at Iowa? And of course, we can talk about this on the Iowa show tomorrow, so that's why I don't want to keep you on here too long. But have you looked at Iowa's over/under for 22?
The real MVP called the other night, and he ran down all the Big Ten teams, and Iowa was at 7.5. I will verify that, but I'm almost positive 7.5.
Okay, so that's a fair over/under, and I'm not a betting man. I never will be, but I would maybe even lean towards taking the over on that. But I think it's actually pretty accurate. What I want to ask you, and then I'll get off the line, is we've spent a lot of time about discussing where Brian Ferentz and the Iowa offense needs to be to compete for a Big Ten title. And this is more of a general question, not even about Iowa, but when you're talking about an offense that's 120 in the country, 123 in the country in total offense, and all the metrics basically say that they're 100 plus. What I would like to ask you, because I know you just defer to me and say, well, I'm not the Iowa expert, but just for college football in general, what do you see as a ceiling for any team that's coming off several years, minus the 120-20 year, which I think was an outlier? What is the ceiling for one year of improvement on either side of the football? Is it really possible to take an offense that would rank 120 plus and make it top 50 in 1 year? for any offense. I mean, it's even possible going out and getting a bunch of 5-star kids, going out and getting a bunch of transfer recruits. As you know, it's harder to build your roster with transfers in football anyways. But is it possible to do that? What's the ceiling?
I can't think off the top of my head of anyone accomplishing that. I can note a number of progressions in that direction on both sides of the ball that I can think of. Most of them on defense, actually. Alex Grinch at Washington State, Alex Grinch at Oklahoma, Jim Knowles at Oklahoma State, that took like 90 to 120 defenses and made them 60, then 30, then in Oklahoma State's case, top 5. Offense. Who has climbed the ladder in offense? I would like to see North Carolina's numbers from the season before Mack Brown to Mack Brown and Sam Howell's first season. That would be a considerable jump, but probably nothing in the range of 70 spots. Virginia had a ridiculous jump here recently when they found a quarterback.
But by ridiculous, what's ridiculous?
Well, I don't know. I'd have to look at I know that they were just much improved. I don't know what I'm not a big total offense guy, even though I ran that video and posted it a few days ago because I was enamored with the offensive ineptitude of Iowa and wanted to see how those numbers played out. But I know that Virginia, they've got one of the best quarterbacks in the country, and when they were pretty anemic on offense. Wake Forest, I'm going to check them out a few years ago. They had one of the 5 or 10 worst offenses in the country, and they kicked it into gear pretty quickly. Those would be the 2 that I would go to. Those would be the 3 that I would go to for it. Maybe it might be over the course of 2 seasons that I'd have to see that kind of a jump.
And the reason I bring this up is because in Iowa's situation, I'm a firm believer that unless there's a significant jump this year, that Brian is going to be in hotter water than he has ever been in. And I think part of that is just the promotion. Had he stayed in his position and they had hired someone else to take that quarterback coach position, then I think maybe we're talking about less pressure there. But I think that would be an interesting project. And I'm not encouraging you to do that because I know you're busy with other projects. But to really look at some of these programs that are just barely sucking wind, just sucking wind on either side of the ball, whether it be offense or defense. What does history indicate is the potential for growth from one season to the next? And I look at Iowa, and I'm not trying to just send Iowa fans into a depression, but I would think the only way you're going to make that type of a jump. You brought up the quarterback position at Virginia. You're going to have to do something somewhat drastic. Maybe it's philosophy, maybe it's personnel. And so I just question, I just think about that more so with Iowa. Now we're not even talking about, at the end of last season, we could have been skeptical and said, well, maybe, what's the potential if they make major changes? And they're obviously not doing that. So they haven't used the portal. They haven't changed any, as far as coaching. They have many coaching hires that inspire confidence. In fact, they've kind of went in the opposite direction. They've lost some playmakers in Charlie Jones and Tyrone Tracy. They lose the best center in the country on that side of the ball. So I'm just curious. I just thought I'd ask you that question because whatever the ceiling is for any jump for any program, it's got to be less, given the fact that Iowa has not made wholesale changes on that side of the ball, which I would think normally a program that's that bad on one side of the ball would be seeking to make wholesale changes over the coming months after the end of a terrible season. Now, and I don't say terrible season again. I understand they won 10 games. I'm talking terrible on one side of the ball.
Mm-hmm. And it could be argued that they're playing. I think I wrapped up that video by going over the scheduling differences, which I looked at the total offense for the group of 5 teams, the non-conference games that they were playing. And of course, Iowa State had an outstanding offensive ranking, and then or defensive ranking, I should say. And then you've got, you're displacing Maryland, Indiana, Penn State with Ohio State, Michigan, Rutgers. So I thought that was a bit of an upgrade in defensive ability on the other side of the ball that they're going to face this year.
Yeah, no, I thought those were great numbers. Every single, you're right. If you go down the line, every single one of those opponents is a step up from the same tiered team from the previous season, if that makes sense. So I promise I'd keep it short. So I know there's a couple people asking questions about Iowa. I guess we could just tease our show tomorrow. We've got Steve Dace coming on the show, correct, Mark? Tomorrow, 4:30.
We do. So check out the banner, folks.
4:30.
Iowa Hawkeyes Live. We got Steve Dace. We are going through the Iowa schedule week by week and bringing on media guests from those opponents. And our guy Steve Dace from Michigan Podcast is going to be joining us tomorrow at 4:30 Central, 5:30 Eastern. That should be a whole lot of fun.
And Mark, just for the record, you know Steve. I've listened to. I haven't listened to Steve as much lately because I've been so busy with. Well, I'm sure you're kind of the same way, but I went a lot of years listening to Steve and John Miller, who used to be Channel 13 WHO here, and they, John used to be on Sound Off. They used to do a lot of radio work for Iowa, and they used to do kind of a miniature college game day for the Iowa State series. Steve is fantastic, and I know Steve is very opinionated, and I people may think I'm opinionated. Steve is very opinionated, but boy, he's a great listen, as you know, Mark. So if college football fans in general, he is such a great. I'm looking forward to it from an Iowa perspective. I know he's representing Michigan on the show, but he has got such a great knowledge. He knows Kirk Ferentz personally. He's got such a great knowledge of Iowa football. So that's going to be a fun show tomorrow, Mark. But appreciate you taking my call, and we'll talk tomorrow afternoon.
Corey, one quick thing before we go. And again, if you're just a college football fan, again, you want to check out our Iowa show tomorrow. Again, I've got it posted there on the banner, 5:30 Eastern, 4:30 Central. Steve Dace is going to join us from Michigan Podcast. Lemansky has a question about Kirk Ferentz's bonus. So I want you to explain that and get into that at some point, because that was brought up the other night. I didn't know what the figures were, but Lemansky brought it up and just wanted my opinion of should a coach be receiving a bonus for this record, this type of record. So I'll be interested to get your take, whether that's on Tuesday's show this week or we save it for another time.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. I have to go digging to see what that bonus is. But the answer to that question is yes. I believe every time Kirk wins 7 games, there is a bonus incentive. And for that matter, to be fair to Kirk, there is also a bonus incentive to win Big Ten championships, which of course he's not been doing. But I think we can both agree that the fact that there's even an incentive to win 7 games is, I think, ridiculous that we're in year 24.
That's probably the term I used. Ridiculous.
Winning 7 games, I think, is pretty ridiculous. But you know what? I just tweeted this out a few minutes ago, Mark. There's some people who will defend Kirk. I mean, there's literally a guy defending that I just saw today on the YouTube channel. A guy today defending Brian, basically saying that Brian's been, I don't know, some form of good. I don't know how anybody can make that argument, but basically saying that he's, Nate Stanley was one of the most prolific passers in Iowa history, and I mean, just I can't deal with it, Mark. So I'll come up with a direct answer to that question tomorrow, and we also got to figure out the whole tight end show, tight end you, because I saw Notre Dame. A couple of comments here as we're talking. I get that Notre Dame, Iowa. What would it be? Penn State. Who's the other? Miami. Miami's in the mix.
Yeah, I really think that's an Iowa, Notre Dame, Miami, depending on your number of years. If you're talking about currently, if you're talking about last 20 years, if you're talking all time, whatever the metric, whatever the time period, I think those 3 are pretty safe in that discussion, regardless of the time frame.
We got to make that happen, Mark.
All right. I would love it. I will just kick back and enjoy and be looking up numbers and stats and trying to stump everyone. and provide devil's advocate perspective.
All right, Mark. I'm
Thanks,
going to
Corey.
have you on in the background as I'm getting some work done here. So enjoy your night. We'll talk tomorrow.
Great stuff. Thank you, sir. We'll see you tomorrow. Corey Bratta from the Hawkeye of the Storm. If you're unaware, from the Hawkeye of the Storm, look it up right here on YouTube. Corey does an excellent job covering Iowa athletics, mostly football, men's basketball, but also women's basketball, baseball, wrestling. I think we had some wrestling this past season as well. All right. Welcome into the Voice of College Football. Who's on the line?
Hey, Mark, it's McD44. How are you doing?
McD. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. I want to talk about mail-ins over under.
Okay.
Do you know what it is?
I'm looking for it. Give me just a second. I just had it up here. It is.
I guess it's 6 or 6.5. I know it's one of those two.
We had a caller the other night give it to me, and I believe. Oh. Yeah. So I was asked to guess the over-unders before I was told what they are, and I believe I guessed this right on. Maryland's exactly at 6.
That sounds about right. I don't blame the Vegas odd makers for making it 6 because you look at the defenses. They're bringing in a new defensive coordinator. They are it's going to be kind of a new defense overall. And obviously, people like pooping on Mike Locksley, which I disagree with. I think Mike Locksley is doing a wonderful job as Maryland's head coach. He's having the team heading in the right direction. But,
I'm a big Mike Locksley fan, so I'm certainly not on that list of people that you're talking about. I have been an ardent supporter of Mike Locksley and his coaching genius on the sideline.
Lies, but
McDee's laughing, everyone, because I've been a bit hard on Mike Locksley through the years. I don't understand why the man was given the job, number one, and number two, there's been a number of misgivings since then. But hey, good season last year, something to build on. Bowl win, winning season finally. Okay.
He got the job because of his recruiting connections in the state of Maryland and D.C. and Northern Virginia.
The guy before him, DJ Durkin, was recruiting well. Doesn't everybody recruit okay at Maryland?
Yeah, but I mean, Locksley. I don't think DJ Durkin would have gone Rakeem Jarrett. I just don't.
Okay.
I think Locksley down because Locksley it's his dream job. So I do think that that means something. But I do think Maryland will hit the over in that 6. I think Maryland's going 8-4, Mark. I think they're going 8-4.
8-4.
And they're
Now they went 6-6 last year, and if I'm not mistaken, somebody on this phone call said they'd go 6-6. That wasn't you.
That is true. You did say that last year. I said 7-5 last year.
Okay, well that was
and
close.
The reason why I said 7-5 is because I didn't think Michigan State was going to be good last year. I thought they were going to be in the South. So I
missed on Michigan State too.
So that's why they went 6-6. And I actually think they beat Michigan State this year. I think Michigan State kind of falls back to earth. I think I like Mel Tucker a lot, but he's going to live and die by that transfer portal. With what he's doing up there in East Lansing. And with the game at home, October 1st, Maryland's probably going to be coming off a hard-fought loss against. I think I'm taking it a bit too far. They're going to be coming off a loss against Michigan. I think coming home, maybe they sneak up on Michigan State and get the win there for their big. That'll be Mike Locksley's big upset win of the year against Michigan State. Because
As you know, that they've got this non-conference slate that's not necessarily going to blow anyone away. Buffalo at Charlotte and SMU. SMU's a difficult one, though. That's one to look out for.
I agree. Well, I agree. I think SMU is definitely going to score points against Maryland. I definitely agree with that. They'll lose on the road at Michigan. They'll beat Michigan State. I don't get why people are high on Purdue. They're going to fall back to earth and win 5-6 games like they normally do. So Maryland will beat them. I don't care that the Indiana game's on the road. Maryland's going to win that game. I honestly think Indiana is heading to where Rutgers and Kansas was 3 or 4 years ago, like getting lucky to go 1-11. I think Indiana is heading to the dark ages of their football history. If you want my honest opinion.
Well, back to the Purdue selection there, McD. If I'm not mistaken, you seem to always have it out for Minnesota and Purdue. You don't like either one of them.
Well, this might surprise you, Mark, but I think Minnesota's going to win the Big Ten West this year.
Oh, all right. I'd love to see some fresh blood in the championship game. That would be PJ and the boys. That'd be great.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't. I wouldn't say I have blood out for Purdue. It's just that I don't think they're going to go. Did they go 8-5 or 9-4 last year? I forget.
9-4.
But I don't think they do that again. I think they go 7-6 or at best 8-5. It's in College Park, and I think it's a pick'em game, and I think Maryland's going to beat Purdue. That's kind of where I stand on it. They'll beat Northwestern. Northwestern, they just don't have the rosters to really go up against any Big Ten team. They'll go on the road and lose to Wisconsin. They'll go on the road and lose a hard-fought game to Penn State. It would not surprise me, though, if we go up there and beat them. Remember last time when Maryland went up to Penn State, Mark?
Sure.
What happened?
Oh, they blitzed them. They were all over them.
Exactly. Yep. And then Ohio State, I'm sure you're happy to hear this, but we will lose to Ohio State. Hopefully we won't give up 60 points, though. Hopefully we can keep it within 50.
Keep it within 7 touchdowns. Okay.
Yeah, hopefully we just don't give up 60. I think Ohio State is the second best team in the country. And then I think we'll beat Rutgers at home. We beat them last year on the road. I do like what Greg Schiano is doing, but I just think Maryland overall is a better roster than Rutgers right now. And it's in College Park, so that's a bit of a bonus. I also think Maryland might have one of the best offenses in the Big Ten. I think Ohio State's clearly the best offense after that. I think Maryland could be number 2. I really do.
Well, I definitely think that you're right there on the offensive side of the ball. Yes, Maryland's. I love your wide receiver core. Talia's got all sorts of talent. Eliminate a few mistakes. Yeah, you've got skill position players all over the place.
You want to know another cool fact about Maryland's offense?
Give it to me.
All 5 offensive linemen come back.
Okay.
All 5. The only one that doesn't come back is the tight end who got drafted to my Tennessee Titans. So, but everybody else comes back. Bring back 10 out of 11 starters.
All right, McD. Anything else on the beloved Terps? I think if you make it through these 3 non-conference games, then you're off and running. Of course, that's a pretty obvious statement. But considering in the Big Ten, Maryland should be Indiana, Northwestern, and then Rutgers. Okay, those are the obvious 3 wins that you would think that they would be able to get. Then it's all up to knocking somebody else off to get that 7th win and break the over.
Between Michigan State, Purdue, at Wisconsin, and at Penn State, if they could win 2 out of those 4, I think that will be huge for Locksley.
Oh, out of Wisconsin, Penn State, Michigan State?
Michigan State and Purdue.
Oh, okay. Win 2 of those 4?
Michigan. Yeah, I don't think he's beating Michigan. As I said a few weeks ago, I think Michigan's going to be back in the playoff. So
Michigan's going to be back in the playoff, but Ohio State's the second best team in the country.
I think Ohio State's also going to be in the playoffs. I think there's going to be 2 teams out of the SEC and 2 teams out of the Big Ten.
Okay, should be quite the duel. Interesting. All right, McD. Appreciate you being here.
Yep.
You have a good night.
Yeah, I'll chat. See you. Go Terps.
Sounds good. Our guy McD there, big Maryland fan. We've gone back and forth on Mike Loxley through the years. Appreciate the super sticker and the super chats coming in. We got Nick Barnett. I mentioned South Alabama. If I could pull this trigger all the time, I'd be throwing out all sorts of teams. I said South Alabama, Nick Barnett, boom, super chat. That's my alma mater. He kicks in with the super chat. Joey, appreciate you being here as always. You know that. Joey helps us so much, specifically with the West Virginia channel, but really across the board, Joey has been phenomenal. I just cannot in any way tell you how great Joey's been to support the channel. He's over on Golden Blue Dude's channel as well, supporting him between Golden Blue Dude, Coos Walker, and of course, Travis Kenobi on Last Word on College Football. We've got a great West Virginia show every Friday night. Please check it out. We're going to spotlight the West Virginia-Texas matchup coming up this Friday night. So please be here for West Virginia Football Talk, Fridays, 8 Eastern. All right. Next up here at the Voice of College Football. Who's on the line?
What's up, Mark? It's Eric.
Eric, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing just fine. Appreciate you being here, man. What's going on?
I got a couple things written down here that I've been wanting to talk about a little bit. Okay, let's see. Divisions, they're kind of going away, and we're looking at a less regional sport maybe, and a more like national sport. But it makes sense to keep things somewhat geographical, right? Like from a travel standpoint, like that's still a good thing. We don't all want to be like Hawaii, like traveling across time zones and things. Like there is reasons and traditions to keep it somewhat geographical, right?
Oh, absolutely. Not just because of the travel, which is very practical of you, but just from the rivalry standpoint. I just think that collegiate sports, collegiate football is just about what separates it on the big time level. There are what separates it is tradition, the pageantry, the rivalries. The rivalries are typically, aside from USC and Notre Dame, they are based on regional identity. There's a fabric to the sport that's woven into the cultures, the food, the music, everything that plays into the culture of the Southeast or Texas or the West Coast or the Midwest, and we don't want to tear that apart. I don't believe. I think that there's just a longstanding, again, just identity that each conference has because of the members within the conference, and it's been kind of yanked at because of adding all these teams from outside that region.
Yeah, like there's been at least conjecture about the Big Ten swooping up some West Coast powers, and like I would love to see those games, but if it cost me the UW rivalry and the Oregon State rivalry, I don't think I'd want to pull the trigger. So because we all want more better out of conference games, and there's the other end of the spectrum where Alabama hasn't played an out of conference road game since whatever. Like this is their first year at Texas, so they're going to do it.
11
I
years.
also think that's bad. I don't like that at all.
I don't either. I think it's nice to have a small collection of games at the outset of the season that we see in these large NFL stadiums. And I shouldn't even call them large NFL stadiums. They have seating capacities that are less than the most of the elite college teams. But they're these plush, nice NFL stadiums with the boxes and all the niceties and amenities, and they just look like palaces. So a few of those are kind of cool, but I don't want to see those all over the place, and I don't want to see the same teams playing in those games every year. And Alabama's played in one of those games every year for 11 years, and finally going to end that this season.
Okay. Here I was talking with Ronan on the Discord.
Yeah.
And all you guys in the chat listening right now, you should be on Discord. It's really fun. We get some good conversations going increasingly as more people are participating, but it's going well. So get on the Discord. But we were talking about U of L Miami, and I asked him, and I want to ask you, 2023 recruiting class, who does better, the Ducks or Mario Cristobal in Miami?
Miami.
Yeah. He was saying it depended on performance on the field this year. And I obviously I agree with him. If Miami has a great season, it's going to help. Mario doesn't exactly need it, but it would be tremendous if they had a good season.
So of course the performance on the field is going to sway that. Absolutely. I am when I answered that quickly for Miami's side, I think that if there is some kind of outlier performance by either one, whether positive or negative, Miami goes to the playoffs, Oregon goes to the playoffs, or one of them goes 6-6. Yeah, that's going to impact recruiting. But if we stay within the range of expectations, 8-4, 9-3, 10-2 for either one of them, with a decent bowl game, but not winning the conference championship, then I just think that first of all, they both have two new coaches at those locations, but Mario is grounded in Miami. He knows the territory better than Dan Lanning does. He's got more players there to choose from. Of course, there's more schools headed to South Florida to get players and battle for players, but I just think he's got a huge recruiting advantage over Dan Lanning because of where they're located, and he's going to be given, even if they have a disappointing season at 7-5, I think he can still recruit that for one cycle at least. I think there's a honeymoon there for at least one season.
In top 10 classes?
Oh, I think they'll be in that range. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. Bo Nix is maybe going to have the best offensive line that he's ever played with this year.
Yes.
So his stats, believe it or not, and I've been saying this for a while, Anthony Brown's stats last year are better than any season that Bo Nix has ever played. And there's a lot of things to dissect there. It's a different, Bo Nix played much stiffer competition and had kind of a unstable situation in Auburn, different OCs every year he played, coaching change, So do you think Bo Nix puts up career high stats at Oregon this year?
I've got a pretty good recollection of Bo Nix's numbers without looking at them. He was off to a place where he was going to have his best season last season, and he got hurt in the 10th game of the season against Mississippi State. Yeah, I'm going to say that Bo Nix is. Like you say, the Auburn offensive line has been an issue. For as good as their defensive line has been, like a top 5 unit in the country, the offensive line has been just the opposite, the weak portion of the team. And I don't know necessarily the way you would think that he would have been the perfect quarterback to counter that because he's elusive, but it became a bit of a mess if you watch their games, because understandably so, he was counting the beats until he had to get rid of the ball or start running around. And I think he became quite gun shy and apprehensive. And, you know, you're going to play to your strengths. And then if the offensive line's bad, you're really going to play to your strengths. And so we got extremes with his play. But the longer that he played, and he got thrown right into it, as you know, as well as anyone, first game ever was against Oregon in one of these big neutral site games. You know, he had a pretty ugly season at times that year. And I think Bo Nix takes too much criticism. I think he's a really good quarterback. And I do defend the offensive line issues, the changing at the offensive coordinator position. Of course, Gus Malzahn, for as good as he is as an offensive mind, I think he's a bit he's in that Jimbo Fisher mode in certain respects of being a little too putting too much pressure, putting too much criticism, and wanting just things to be perfect at the quarterback position. And I thought Bo Nix had a good career at Auburn. And I think he's going to do better at Oregon because of this. Yeah, he's not going to face the defenses by any stretch. It's going to be Cal every week, Stanford, Washington State, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. He's never thrown for more than 2,500 yards. His best year was his freshman year, and he threw 2,500, 2,542. I think Anthony Brown last year was close to 3,000, basically 3,000, like 2,900. His best completion year, Bo Nix, was this year at 61%. So, and anyone that's watched the two of those guys, Anthony Brown and Bo Nix, know that Bo Nix is a better quarterback, despite his stats being a little bit lesser. CW or C White 12 something in the chat asked if Dan Lanning has success at Oregon. Is he going to get taken away by an SEC team? Maybe. It's possible. It's likely even. I mean, what are the odds that any coach stays anywhere for more than 4 years, even 3? Like, it seems like 3 to 4 years is kind of like the average tenure for a lot of coaches these days. So the thing with Lanning, though, is he doesn't have the Miami and Cristobal situation. He doesn't have that. He went to, I forget the name, is some small school in Missouri that he's not going to ever go coach at. So I guess the only thing would be if just, money talks. An inordinate amount of money, he'd probably go wherever, right? As we all would. But I think he has a really interesting opportunity here in Oregon as a first-time head coach with a program that really would like to see a little bit more stability at the head coach position. We've been through a few too many in the last couple of years. So if he creates something special and it's kind of his baby, I think Oregon's pockets are deep enough to pay him whatever he wants if successful. So I think there is a good possibility of him staying for a good while too.
Yeah, I don't know where Dan Lanning is from. I don't know
He's
where
like from
he
Missouri.
would. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I don't know what his perspective on that would be in regards to where he would want to be, where he would want his family to be if he would be weighing that.
He played at William Jewell College in Missouri.
Yeah. Well, he's just starting his tenure at Oregon. So for him to have the opportunity to go to a upper tier SEC school. So let's keep in mind that he's not going to leave Oregon, most likely to go to Mississippi State or Missouri. He's going to leave there to go to probably at the most 4 to 5 schools at the most.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Oregon's a top 10 coaching job easily, if not top 5, 6.
You're
I
putting
think.
Oregon in the top 5 to 6 coaching jobs in America.
I think the resources you have here are unlimited. I mean, the recruits, obviously there's travel involved with that, but I mean, you have a private jet to fly you anywhere you want at any time.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know that it's viewed that way, but
It's
yeah,
not.
people know.
I know what I'm saying isn't like.
And I'm not saying that's valid, what people view it as, but that
Oh
is
yeah, I know.
part of it. But okay,
The facilities are the new. I don't know if you've seen. Have you seen the renovated Hayward Field?
no, I have. The only thing I've seen is that crazy documentary that came out. What's that been? That's probably been 7 or 8 years ago with the facilities when they were far and away the best in the country. But no, I've not seen the practice. It's the practice field you're talking about, right?
No, Hayward Field is our track field. They just did a huge renovation. It's gorgeous. But yeah, I will let someone else get on the line. And Tim, I didn't say it was top 5. I said 5 or 6. And you know what? Thinking about it, maybe 5, 6, 7. Like, you guys don't crucify me here. It's better than 10, but maybe not 5. All right. And I will die on that hill. Thank you, Mark, for all your time.
Appreciate it, Eric. Thank you so much.
Yep.
All right. Number of super chats coming in. Appreciate everybody contributing. Joey Foster, Eric has. Thank you so much for that. Thanks for the call. And as Eric stated off the top of his phone call, please join us on Discord. I was doing really well to get in there every day and respond to comments in our Discord. I've not done that for the past couple of weeks, so I will get back on that. I thought about it today, and I was doing multitasking. You know what we say about multitasking? It's a myth. You really can't multitask. You can be doing like 5 things at the same time, but you have to stop and do this for a second, do that for a minute, do that for 10 seconds. So you can't multitask. I think of the Discord all the time, and then I don't get in there, but I was faithfully for a couple months. But we do have a Discord, and the reason you go in there is not to talk college football with me. It's you've got Ronan and Eric and Tim and Exploring with Ben and Jordan Bowman's in there, right? But we got about 50 or 60 people that have access to the Discord link. And we just see it's one of those things that has to gain momentum. So I'm going to be very open and honest and transparent with you. The discussion right now is sporadic, I'm sure. The times that I've been in there, it's sporadic. But if we got a ton of people in there, then it would just be going crazy. And you could find anybody in there to talk about whatever you want to talk about. We've got a channel. When I say channel, it means a discussion page, a forum, but they call them channels for the Big Ten, the SEC, the Pac-12, the Big 12, and the ACC. So we've got all 5, and then we've got a national channel as well. And then I can add channels for certain discussions as they break out. And the larger this gets, the more we can focus on, hey, Oregon, boom. There's so many people that want to talk Oregon football, they can get their own channel. And we can break that down into recruiting and week 1. And so it could just take off from there. So please help us on that. And it will benefit you and your college football discussions. Patreon, go to patreon.com. Search Mark Rogers TV. It's right there on the banner. Patreon.com. Search Mark Rogers TV. Sign up there. And the Discord we're talking about right here doesn't even include everything we're talking about that you benefit from on Patreon, which we're only about 11 weeks away from, of course, my college football predictions. And I'm not going to guarantee that they're going to make you money, but just about every season for the last 40 years, they would make you money, and certainly last year. And we get the selections from about 50 to 20 15 to 20 of our contributors here, including Corey Braddock, who we heard from on the phone a few minutes ago. So please join us on Patreon. You can request an exclusive live stream, one per week. We offered out scheduling previews. We just produced one for Michigan State. So join us on Patreon. And then the Discord. All right. Welcome into the Voice of College Football. Who's on the line?
Hey, Mark, it's DeAndre. How you doing today?
DeAndre, I am doing well. What's going on?
Hey, so I was doing some research today, and I want to go back to Clemson and NC State game. So the first series of the game, DJ Ukulele hit Justin Walls for a touchdown in the end zone.
Okay.
And after that, NC State goes to a 3-3-5, which they usually play, where they played all their 5 defenders back, their defensive backs. And Clemson gives up multiple sacks to a 3-man line. So everybody that keeps saying that it's DJ's fault, I know I keep defending DJ all year. I went and looked at the Syracuse game, too. Syracuse played the same defense like similar to NC State, a 3-3-5 and a lot of people back. And that was the first game without Dixon also. So I guess what I'm asking is, if the offensive line and play calling was that terrible, maybe it's not DJ's fault all the way. I mean, I know you agree with me, but I was just pointing that out to all the Clemson listeners out there. And sometimes you got to go back and look at some of these games, and nobody got time to look at 3 hours worth of games every day. I just have to fast forward to the points that I saw in the game, and I saw that Clemson was struggling with that 3-3-5 look. And they had just lost Dixon and were playing with 2 freshman running backs, and DJ was getting sacked a lot against the 3-man defensive line. So, I mean, I think Tony Elliott's play calling got a lot to do with DJ's downfall, because RG3 pointed out in the game that he was that they were just running go routes the whole time. I think that's what's called thick routes, go routes, whatever they're called, the whole time. And they wasn't doing anything special. So I wonder how much that had to do with it, and with him having to hold the ball so long. And I know he had something to do with it, but I'll just point that out for all the people that don't like DJ.
Well, I've watched this play about 5 times that you just went over. The first play that scored a touchdown against NC State, and then it was a really good throw by DJ on that play. He kind of flushed himself from the pocket. He didn't have to leave the pocket. He really wasn't. He got a little bit of a push in the middle. But anyway, so I kind of questioned him bowling to the right. But let's not be – I don't want to be too critical. It's easy for me to sit here and judge. But once he did, he bought himself a ton of space. And there was a guy coming right at him. And he wasn't that close, but he still had a dude bearing down right on him. And he threw a ball that he had to lay in there a little bit. He had to throw it with zip, but he couldn't just laser it because he had to lay it over 2 guys, and he just made it into the back of the end zone. So he put it in there pretty well.
Right. Yeah, so that was my point. And if you go look at the play after that, when the series after that, he gets sacked by a 3-man line twice, backed him all the way up. So I mean, and like I said, I'm not trying to make excuses for DJ, but I just think that the offensive line was horrible, and the play calling was also horrible for that. Like, what did you do to try to get more? What did you try to do to get protect this guy? And I can see what you're saying, that he scrambled out, but he just got his brains beat in by Georgia. I mean, Georgia. I know they had a game between that, but I just wanted to point that out to you. And then I went back and looked at the Georgia Tech game. There's clips of it. I think it was 7-3 at halftime, but a lot of that was shaky play calling again. If you go back and look at that game, and I think the final score was 14-8. Georgia kicked 2 field goals, and they had a safety. Why was Clemson trying to run the ball out of the end zone through a shotgun? And then, you hiking the back, 3 or 4 yards in the shotgun. And I know they said after the game they usually didn't practice a kneel down in the end zone. And I just think Clemson's offense was put in a lot of bad situations when it came to play calling last year. I like Tony Elliott, and people going to take up for him, but he got a Virginia job, and I hope he does a great job out there. But I just don't think that he's a very good offensive play caller last year. And I think the guy that went down to South Florida covered up a lot of stuff, and the lack of variety in receivers. And I brought this point up all the time, but all the receivers did the same as that thing. But back to what you talk about today on your show. You were picking overs and unders for records. Somebody pointed out, I don't know if you talked about it already, LSU. LSU got a pretty good pick for 8.5. And I think LSU can get 9 wins this year.
You like LSU? LSU's only at 7.
Oh, they're at 7.
They're only at 7.
Every sports book is different. I think they get 8 wins. You don't think so?
Let's see. Out of conference,
they got the quarterback for Arizona State.
They should be able to go 4-0 outside the conference. Yeah.
Yeah, they should beat Mississippi State, Ole Miss, maybe. Probably have a pretty good chance of beating them. They got Vanderbilt on the schedule.
Well, they got
Florida.
They got Florida. They always play Florida. Let's see who their other SEC East game is. They've got, and again, they're out of conference. Florida State, that's pretty much a home game in New Orleans. Southern, New Mexico, and UAB. So they're 4-0 outside the conference. They should be. And their other SEC East games, Tennessee. So they do have Tennessee and Florida. Yeah, 8-4. Arkansas is going to be tough. Alabama, Arkansas, Texas A&M. I guess they get to 8. Ole Miss, Mississippi State. Sounds like I'm going to stay away from that one.
Don't stay away from it. Well, I saw somebody say that that was like a trendy pick for getting 8. I saw 8.5 somewhere, but like I said, every sports book, I'll find it was 7.5. Shoot, I might go with that. They're gonna upset somebody this year. I mean, I'm not trying to be funny, but ain't Florida and LSU on the same level?
Florida and LSU? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a toss-up.
Oh, sure, it's a toss-up.
I would even say Tennessee.
Tennessee's a toss-up.
Tennessee and LSU will be a toss-up. Yeah.
They got a ton of games that are toss-ups. Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Arkansas.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. So let me ask you this, Mark. I ran into a guy that's an Ole Miss fan. He said one of the most. I know you did the area. He said one of the most underrated rivalries in college football is LSU and Ole Miss. That might have to. He said that might be one of the nasty rivalries that nobody ever talks about.
I agree.
Is that true?
Absolutely. Ole Miss takes a lot of pride in LSU, and when I was there, that was 94 to 2000. So that was Kevin Falk territory. Tommy Tuberville coaching Ole Miss for almost that entire time. I got to see the end of Jolie Dunn in the beginning of David Cutcliffe, and I saw LSU with Jerry DiNardo left. Did I see Jerry DiNardo? Who was the LSU coach when I was there? It must have been DiNardo for almost that entire time. Yeah. But there is a lot there, and I don't know what that goes back to necessarily. I know that they had a lot of seasons there in the late 50s. So Billy Cannon won the Heisman. LSU won a national championship in 59, or they shared one. And then Ole Miss claims one in 60 or 61. I think 61. So they had a lot of battles there in the late 50s, early 60s when they were arguably the two best teams along with Alabama in the SEC.
Okay. Yeah. Another point I want to bring up about Clemson, the guy corrected me, and when he replayed what we talked about, he said that it was the NC State game. If we also go back and look at NC State towards the middle of the second half, I wrote it down, but I had left it at work. If you was going, I'm going to tweet it to you, direct message it to you. However, I will point this out too. Clemson stopped NC State on 2nd and 8 on a flea flicker. And then it was like 3rd and 8. Clemson gives up an easy jumps outside and it goes 3rd and 2. And NC State hits a quick hit in the middle of a zone, and they get the first down. Then they go off the score. Then the second thing that happened in that game that people don't realize how fortunate NC State was to win that game. Clemson jumps off sides on 4th and 3 a few times. So that's why I say it was a bad year, and Tyler Davis didn't play that game. NC State didn't do a lot of running, but he did a lot of passing. And that's also the game that Breezy, I think, got hurt in. And also Skowski got hurt. But my point is, Clemson did a lot of stuff to assist with an NC State win last year. Not saying NC State was a bad team and they didn't deserve to win the game, because you can't rewrite history. But Clemson assisted them with that win last year. And I had to go back and read, because the guy had said, yeah, you're getting Pitt and NC State game mixed up. State is where they jumped outside a whole bunch and gave up a lot of free first downs and kept drives going, and a lot of I think they had 13 penalties. You're probably looking it up right now. So I was just bringing that up too. It just was one of those years they had a lot of bad breaks. So
they had bad breaks, but as I mentioned to you here recently, DeAndre, they had good breaks as well. I think they landed about where they should have. I think they went both ways.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, and that's true. And you don't have years like that. Just like we all talked about the Ohio State game. You know, if you're really a football fan, that was a catch by. That was an interception or a fumble recovery by Alave. Hey, let me ask you a question. I saw A.J. Terrell's brother's time with Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think people thought Alave was better than A.J. Terrell? And I'm just saying, when A.J. Terrell played at Clemson, he probably faced better quarterbacks than Alave. And they're about the same size, and A.J. Terrell is a lot quicker. So what do you think was the difference in the draft grade or the draft order between those two?
A.J. Terrell, and who are you comparing him to? You said Alave. You're talking about the Ohio State wide receiver?
No. I'm talking about the what's the defensive back that came out a couple of years ago?
Okudah.
He went to Detroit. He was number 3. Okudah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Okudah's not having a good time in the NFL right now.
Well, he got hurt.
Screen, so
he may never be the same. I think he tore his Achilles, right?
But even if we go back to A.J. Terrell and their rookie years, A.J. Terrell had a better year. I mean, again, I've seen a lot of people talk about it online. like top billing when they had came out, and he was breaking down AJ Terrell, and he was like, look at AJ Terrell, he only had one bad game, and that was against the kid that played for Bengals, Chase. And you look at who did Olave go, not Olave, but
Okuda. Yep.
Okuda, who did he go? Yeah, and they was pointing out who AJ Terrell played against. You know, the receivers from Alabama, the guys from LSU, and there's tons of other people. Claypool out of Notre Dame, and they were he was comparing like who they went up against and what they did. So I wanted to see what did you think about it, because that was a hot topic 3 years ago. But I didn't know that he had got hurt recently, because I seen him play the whole year. I mean, I don't know, but I didn't. He was in the games. Cause I know a lot of people like this draft. They should have taken another one, and he should be the second corner, not the first corner. So that's why I was asking AJ Terrell to consider to be at least the top 4 or 5 quarterback by Pro Focus, NFL Focus, or whatever it's called.
Well, he was taken, what, about 20th in the draft, AJ Terrell?
Yeah.
Something in that range. And like you say, Okuda was number 3. And I got to say that Okuda didn't play. Like you mentioned Claypool at Notre Dame, the Alabama receivers. Who else did you throw out there? AJ Terrell played.
Chase and Marshall at LSU.
Oh, well, yeah, in the championship game. Yeah, he was there in 17, 18, and 19, yeah. Versus Okuda would have taken on the Clemson receivers in that playoff game the year before they went to the Rose Bowl. So, and they didn't play a big non-conference team. Let's see, they played TCU. I'm trying to think. They had TCU had the I can't think of his name, that got drafted by the Redskins.
I know you're talking about.
Yeah, he was a top pick, but I can't imagine that off the top of my head, considering that the best teams that Okuda played in conference were Penn State, Michigan, Wisconsin. They played Wisconsin twice in 2019, that he played quite the top end talent that Terrell played.
Yeah, and I think if you even go look at and don't get me wrong, Al got AJ Terrell in that UNC game one time, the first score that Carolina scored that year. They beat them on a go route. I don't know how they did it, but he played against Hill. But you know, outside of LSU, nobody really ever really destroyed them, and everybody have a bad game outside of Deion Sanders. I really never remember seeing Deion get beat like that. But you know, I mean, Deion Sanders probably the best cornerback there ever was. So, I mean, I'm sure if you look at his games enough, you'll find 1 or 2 plays that he might have got beat. But I just don't see what the big difference that AJ Terrell and the kid out of Detroit. But like I said, also, I didn't know the kid out of Detroit got hurt, too. I wasn't aware of that one.
Yeah, I don't know if he's ever going to make it back. You know, we're talking about a torn Achilles.
Yeah.
So that's going to be tough.
So,
I'm sure I'm missing some receivers that Okuda played. But, I just mentioned the best teams that they played, and nobody's jumping out as being a monster that he played besides Justin Ross. And again, why can't I think of the TCU wide receiver who went to the Redskins? But
I can't think of
Josh
anybody.
Dotson. That's his name. Yeah. I have forgotten more names than I can shake a stick at. All right, DeAndre, anything else?
No. I just wanted to bring that up to point out about DJ. You know, because I really think Clemson fans, and I'm gonna do some defending on my channel about them too, because I really think that he gets a bad rap, and I'm not gonna let you go, but I really think that you know, people need to relax on him. I mean, you know, like I said, we went through the names of quarterbacks that were pretty good, that turned out to be pretty good pros. I have their second full-time playing turned out to be pretty good. So, you know, I think his future is bright, and I think now that he has more diverse receivers and the offensive line plays better, I think Clemson's going to be a whole lot more better than they was last year.
Well, I'll say two things, DeAndre, before we let you go. I'll say two things. One would be the play that DJ threw against NC State to set up that first touchdown. That was an even more impressive throw. He was about to get sacked. He shook a guy. He sprinted out, and he threw a laser right past two North Carolina State defensive backs that had to be thrown perfectly. And he made that throw. And number two, I will say that I'm going to take your phone call from the other night talking about Joe Burrow, Kenny Pickett, somebody else we were talking about as well versus DJ, and the possibility that he, you know, blows up this year and really jumps statistically. So, DeAndre, I always appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Cornell Jones is another person. Hey, you know,
yep.
Look at him. All right.
All right, DeAndre. Have a good night. All right. This looks like our last call here at the Voice of College Football on a Monday night. Let's make it a good one. Who's on the line?
Hey, Mark. It's the real MVP. How you doing?
Yes, it is. I am doing well. What you got going on tonight?
Well, apparently DJ Uiagalelei is the greatest quarterback to walk the face of the earth.
DeAndre likes him.
So.
DeAndre likes him. And he did make a good point the other night. If you look at Kenny Pickett's numbers. Now, Kenny Pickett had better numbers than DJ did last season, but they weren't anything close to what he put up that last season, was the point. You know, he was throwing 13 or 14 touchdowns with about 8 or 9 picks. And then he, bam, throws for 4,000 yards and 42 touchdowns. So he was just saying, can DJ do this?
I don't see it.
Okay.
He can. I mean, he can. I mean, I'm watching Texas State versus Stanford baseball. I mean, it's possible Texas State wins. Probably improbable, though. You score 14 points against Georgia Tech. There's no reason for that. Doesn't matter what play call you get. You should be able to score more than 14 points against Georgia Tech.
Georgia
I mean,
Tech was awful.
I knew Clemson fell, but I mean, I didn't realize they fell that far. So,
yeah, and DeAndre mentioned that he thinks that they could have won some other games that they lost, like the NC State game, the Georgia game, but they also just squeezed by, like I mentioned to him, Boston College and Syracuse and Georgia Tech and some pretty marginal teams.
Louisville, I think, was another one.
Louisville was 30-24. And I watched the end of the Boston College game. Like Boston College was inside the 15 to win the game at the end of the game. And in Syracuse, that was like one of those Friday night games. That was ugly, 17-14 against Syracuse. It was awful. And you know, the bowl game against Iowa State, they had a pick six. Do you remember these two crazy plays? The one was Brock Purdy throws it. It gets batted back to him, and he's trying to bat the ball down, and he doesn't quite get it, and he bats it like a volleyball up in the air, and they get a pick six. Like, that was a gift. And then what ended the game was Iowa State was down by a touchdown. They're driving. There was a 4th down, and Brock Purdy, he had run for the first down, so he was well past the yard marker, but somebody knocked the ball out of his hands. And I've never seen this before, especially for it to happen in the second quarter, big deal. But this ends the game. The fumble went behind the yard to gain. And so when they recovered it, the game was over because he fumbled the ball backwards. It like bounced backwards. I've never seen that before. So, yeah, Clemson, I don't know what to think of them. I'm going to have to think long and hard about Clemson for this next season and what they're going to do.
Yeah, I also learned Oregon is apparently a top 5 to 6 job or 7 in the country. When would they? I'm not trolling when making this point. Or would they even be a top 5 job in the SEC?
Well, the one thing that I pointed out to Eric, and I didn't necessarily follow up on it, was I said, and this is all conjecture because we don't know what Dan Lanning wants and where he wants to go and what he would consider to be but generally, I made the statement that he would probably only go to the SEC for about 5 jobs. And I thought Eric agreed with me. And then he said it was a top 5 job overall. And so I was like, well, if we just decided, or I threw out that there would be 5 schools in the SEC that you would leave Oregon for, roughly Alabama, Georgia, LSU. Okay, Alabama, Georgia for sure. Well, LSU, if you're not stuck on what's going on right this second, LSU's on the same. It's the same as Georgia. It's basically the same. I know that they're not winning, but if they get the right coach, it's the same football mentality that will spend anything, will do anything we need to do to win. So LSU is basically on Georgia's. And Florida, do you leave Oregon to go to Florida? Maybe. I guess you do. I think you do. Texas A&M.
Well,
so
there you go. There's 5 right there. Mark, you know, this the stream or this video was about to be over under.
I know.
So
got away from us a little bit here.
Yeah, just a little bit. I got the list of over-unders I've been using for DraftKings. I've noticed a few things I would like to ask you about.
Absolutely.
Okay?
I've got it right in front of me.
Big 12, just the entire Big 12 conference. They don't have a single team winning double digits this year. Do you think that's going to happen?
No. So obviously these places play on probabilities. And so like Alabama at 10.5. I think just about everyone thinks that they're going to win 12 or 11 games, that they're not going to lose 2 games. The last time Alabama lost 2 games in the regular, they did in 2019. And other than that, they haven't since 2010. So it just almost never happens. But they're playing probabilities here. So yeah, I got to think that somebody, and I'd go to Oklahoma State, and Baylor first. I got to think out of those 3, somebody's going to win 10 games.
Okay. Now, in the Coastal Division, they have Miami and Pittsburgh at the exact same over-under at 8.5. So, Mark, who do you have right now as the favorite to win the Coastal?
Miami and Pitt.
Both at 8.5. And the over-under odds, I'm pretty sure, are the exact same.
Miami plays Clemson outside the division. That kind of hurts them in going head-to-head. They play the game at Miami between the 2. And I think Pittsburgh only has to play Syracuse and somebody else that's beatable outside the division. So there's a difference here. So I can see, you said Pitt at 8.5? They're playing West Virginia and Tennessee. And now I know that has nothing to do with the Coastal. So these are 2 different things. One is, who's going to win what number of games against the over-under. And for Pitt, they've got West Virginia and Tennessee to open the season. So that looks like a split to me. That's those are the odds that we're going to have a split there. So they're going to lose a game. What's funny is they go to Western Michigan. I always like these Power 5 teams.
Revenge game.
I think it's kind of interesting that go on the road and will go to a MAC school. But Pitt will do that. And revenge game. They lost that game at home to Western Michigan. So then, they got Louisville and Syracuse. I'm doing my best on the Louisville and Syracuse outside the division. Man, 8.5. I'm taking the under for Pitt.
Okay. And what about Miami?
Well, man, that's a great number for Miami. That is a great number. Had you asked me to guess those, I think I would have nailed Miami, but I would have been a little less on Pitt. I'm surprised they're 8.5. Miami's going to Texas A&M. They're going to Clemson. They're most likely losing those two games. And I think I would go over on Miami. Now, if we're just going the over-unders, and that's all we're doing here, but if we're like trying to budget money, these over-unders aren't created equal. So Vegas is giving us plus 100 on Miami's over, meaning if you lay down $100, you win 100. It's an even bet. And it's minus 120 on the under. So you got to lay out $120 to win 100 for the under. So I think I'm playing the over for Miami, the under for Pitt.
Okay. And, going back to the Big 12, what team other than Kansas? We all know Kansas is their own level. What team or teams do you think has the next lowest odds to win the game in the Big 12?
So there was a big log jam at the bottom of the Big 12 after Kansas. And I think it was like TCU, Texas Tech. I think TCU's still struggling. They've been pretty marginal the last 2 years. Being nice, they've been marginal. They were 5-7 last year. And Texas Tech, they both have new head coaches, so I think Texas Tech and TCU are your two teams that are on that next rung. Kansas is at 2.5 here.
Yeah, I know.
I think I take the over. I think they're going to squeeze out 3 wins.
That'd be good for Kansas football. You got one of them in Texas Tech, but you actually missed the other one. The other one has a team channel that hosts a live stream every Friday night.
Well, I wasn't.
And they go by West Virginia.
Well, I wasn't the real MVP. I wasn't guessing the over-unders. I was just this was my own thought about these are the two teams that are the worst in the Big 12 aside from Kansas, in my estimation, not based on Vegas. So you're telling me West Virginia, let's see where they are. They are.
Yeah, they were at the same place at Texas Tech.
Ooh. I got to serve this up to our West Virginia guys. Man, they're going to be all over this. Like they think West Virginia's going like 9-3, 10-2. They, of course, they're biased. And if they're watching me, I love all of you. But obviously you're biased, and that's okay. You're college football fans. They try to be objective, but of course, they're biased. Man, West Virginia's at 5.5.
5.5, Mark. I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, they go to Pitt, and they've got Virginia Tech. I think that game's on the road, too. So they do play 2 pretty good non-conference games. And again, I think they're both on the road because they played Virginia Tech at home last year and they play them again. So it's got to be a road game.
You are correct.
Joey Foster's telling us, I say 8-4, maybe 9-3. So again, I'm just letting you know, that our West Virginia contingent is really high on JT Daniels and the crew there. I gotta think that they're going to break 5.5 with. They've got a much better quarterback. If he's still going to be playing halfway through the season, knowing JT Daniels' history, he may play 3 games and be on the shelf for the rest of the year. We don't know, but if he's able to make it, that would be my first question. If somebody could answer me, how many games is JT Daniels going to play? And if that number is 12, then I'd say, okay, well, I got something to work off of here, and I'm going to go over. But it's funny that that's an interesting one. I may have to really look into that because I got to match wits with Steve Dace tomorrow on these over-unders.
Well, let me ask you this. So West Virginia made a bowl game last year.
Yeah.
So by this odd saying, they're not going to improve at all.
No, they're not going to make a bowl game based on this, or they've got 50-50 chance of not making a bowl game. They've got them right on the cusp.
That's weird. That's surprising. Like, I'm looking at their schedule. I mean, they play Kansas and Townsend. You think those are 2 guaranteed wins. TCU, I would think that's a good win. Virginia Tech, Texas. I mean, that's 5 wins right there.
I think Virginia Tech's going to be pretty bad this year. I think they've got to tear up that program. They got to restart. They weren't that good last year. Yeah.
Are they Georgia Tech bad, though?
They might be. I think I like their hire of Brent Pry from Penn State, but I think he's got to start from the ground up. They got to just be all in to say it's going to be ugly for a couple of years. But they play in the ACC. They'll find some wins there. But let's look at this for West Virginia. Yeah, Kansas, Towson. There's 2. Virginia Tech. So if they split Virginia Tech, Pitt, they're 3-1. Shoot. Texas. Texas is not guaranteed to beat anybody. But certainly they'll be.
You want to guess their over-under?
Oh, yeah, I got to look at, hang on just a second. Baylor, Texas Tech, we know everybody in the conference. Man, I got to think that they're going to steal more than 6 or get to 6. I'm pretty high on West Virginia. Not as high as these guys, our West Virginia guys, but I'm high on them breaking 5.5. All right, Texas, I'm going to guess Texas is at, they got to play Alabama. They're at 7.5.
They're at 8.
8.
And if for the budgeting of the money, they're 8, and the over is -135.
Yeah, I'm taking the under because my thought is, are they going to go 9-3? At worst, I'm going to get my money back. They go 8-4. Okay, it's a push. Give me my money back. 9-3 off of this 5-7 with Sark coaching. No, I've got to be proven otherwise. I've got to see it. And Alabama's on the schedule.
There's a lot of hype
right there.
Yeah. There's a lot of hype going into Steve Sarkisian's second year.
Yeah, I know.
If he doesn't make a bowl game or just scrapes by at 6-6, which I feel is more probable than 84, is there a chance he gets fired?
Yes. We were talking about this the other night. I think you called about guys on the hot seat. And there's a lot of guys in that one bad season territory that I think that they still have some rope to go another bad season. But for him, considering Texas money, like Mike Norvell, Florida State's they're already shoveling out how much money to Willie Taggart. They just got through that. They're going to have a difficult decision if Mike Norvell doesn't cut it, whether they can have to buy out another contract. But Texas, I don't think they'll bat an eye at that. They'll do whatever needs to be done. So 6-6, I think 6-6 might show him the door, and maybe 7-5, depending on what it looks like.
I mean, is there? I don't want to say any hope, but Texas is going to be entering the SEC in a few years. They're in no shape to even compete against any, regardless of good teams, but just your average SEC team.
Oh yeah, they're not making
How
it
early in the
through.
process, Mark?
Yeah.
How early in the process do you think they're going to want to go back to the Big 12 if it was just based on football?
Well, if it was based on football, that's where they would want to play and stay, both of them. But they're going to get a check that's estimated around $93 million every year, as opposed to like the 36 or 37 that they're getting right now. That's going to be their cut. So it's just going to be another completely different world. But yeah, Cheryl, I'm right there with you. Cheryl's asking me, what's Steve Sarkisian proven? He's not proven anything. He's had 2 really big jobs, USC and Washington. It wasn't a disaster, but they didn't win as much as they won with the coaches that replaced him. And I don't know what he did to earn the Texas job. But yeah, if he doesn't show up this year, you got to think they'll be like, okay, we need a heavy hitter, somebody that we know. You know, when you hire Steve Sarkisian, you don't know. You don't like when you hire, I hate to say it because he's about the only guarantee that I can think of that's been in multiple jobs. You know, Nick Saban's the obvious, but I was going to say Urban Meyer. When you hire somebody like that, there's not that many guys. You almost know you're going to win. You know, even Brian Kelly.
Right.
I have a lot of respect for Brian Kelly, but he's only done it. He's done it at one place, Notre Dame. And when I say he's done it, he obviously hasn't beaten really good teams. He pretty much held serve. He beat everybody he was supposed to beat, and he got his brains kicked in by anybody that played in the SEC, pretty much, and that was his tenure. So even he hasn't proven to be elite. So there's not too many of those guys that I'd be comfortable to say there's no doubt he's going to come in and take over and be the guy. But there are better choices than Steve Sarkisian, that's for sure.
I think there's going to be some confusion in looking back and saying, why did they did that in a few years with Auburn and Texas?
Yeah.
For sure. Like, what were they thinking? But you know what, Mark? There is a school out there that is hoping and praying for Texas to join the SEC immediately, and that'd probably be Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt, at this rate, might make a bowl game. You get Texas in there, but their non-conference schedule, they're going to have 3, 4, 5 wins there. Already caked in. I mean, Texas can't beat Kansas, so how come they can't? I mean, it's crazy to think they'll lose to Vanderbilt.
You know what? I just had to check out Vandy's number, but just below Vandy here, so Vandy's at 2.5, is a team that we were just talking about a few minutes ago, and we were not talking very kindly about them. Virginia Tech's 6.5. I'm going to have to look at that. I think they play a crappy schedule. I guarantee they're playing 3. Aside from West Virginia, they've got 3 guaranteed wins in the other 3 games. I bet it's Old Dominion and Virginia Military. It's VMI. That's typical Virginia Tech. Let's see. Yes, Old Dominion, Wofford, and Liberty.
Road game.
So
Liberty might beat Virginia Tech.
Yeah, they might. They got to go on the road at Liberty. They lost to Liberty a couple of years ago. So you're right.
They also lost to Old Dominion.
They lost to Old Dominion with what's his name? The Washington Redskins quarterback. What's his name? Heineke? Taylor Heineke?
Oh, Taylor Heineke?
Yes. when nobody knew that he was going to be that good, he hung up like 45 points on Virginia Tech. Yeah, Virginia Tech's been embarrassed they lost to James Madison about 10 years ago too, when they were in the top 10 in the country. Yeah.
I think that Virginia Tech team was ranked against Old Dominion.
Yeah, I think they were too.
They lost as well.
Yeah.
That's tough losses. Mark, the final thing I'll ask you about is Eric wanted to know if you'd be willing to stream or simulate some NCAA 14
I would
during
be
a Saturday or something like that.
On Saturday?
Yeah, he just chose a random date. It don't matter when.
Yeah, I just have to find out how to do it. I don't know how to do it. There's a way to do it. Obviously, it's done all over the place, and I'm hopefully not going to offend anybody by saying this. I think it's stupid, but I know people like it, so people enjoy it, so that's fine. I'm sure there's things that I enjoy that people would say are stupid. So I'm not criticizing in that way. I just personally I don't get into that. But
that's fine. I get into figuring out where College Game Day goes. Now I know you've crapped on that before, so
yes, that's another well, I don't want to use the term pet peeve because that's actually a pet peeve of mine that I don't like the term pet peeve. But yeah, that's another thing that I just don't get, the whole College Game Day fascination. But yeah, streaming. We've got some of those on our team channels, and I had nothing to do with it. Just our guy at SD1 Sports that posts those. But no, Eric, I do not think you are stupid.
Well, I'm assuming you didn't see Uncle Lou's videos about them. He streamed some of them.
Yeah.
I will tell you one result he had.
Yeah.
In the game, Texas beat Alabama 33-31.
See, there you go.
So
we posted something here. Okay, this was it was on the Nebraska channel, and our guy at SD1 Sports, Chris, great guy, he posted I thought this was hilarious. So he's like, can I post these videos? And I'm like, yeah, sure. People love them. Post them. I think it's ridiculous, but sure, post them. And he posted, I remember this. So this is Nebraska and Minnesota. They had just played like 2 weeks earlier, and Minnesota killed them. They won by like 25 or 30 points. And in this simulation, I was just curious. I look it up. Go to the end of the game, and Nebraska beat them by like 17 points. And I'm like, and there's actually people commenting in the comment section about, oh man, I bet if they played again, Nebraska would win. And I'm thinking, are they joking? Or are they that into this that they actually think that this is more credible than those two teams just played 2 weeks ago?
Maybe that's the way we should make the playoffs. Is the way we should just have an NCAA simulation until we get to 8 or 16, and then trot the real teams out on the field.
Or we should have our guy Chris figure it out.
Exactly. And I'm completely joking, by the way. I know there's been some crazy ideas proposed, so I'm completely joking. I realized I had to say that halfway through my thing. But Mark, that's all I got for you. Hit the like button on the video. That way we get more people in here, guys.
I appreciate it. Have a good night, man. So I have been trying to, for anybody that's noticed the bots that are in the chat, I have attempted to block it like 10 times. And YouTube, for some reason, they don't always give me the ability to block. They say, you're going to have to refresh the page. I'm doing a live stream. If I refresh the page, you know what's going to happen? I'm going to knock us off the stream. So I can't refresh the page to block these bots. Porter's saying one more call. It must be Porter on the line. All right, here we go. Welcome to the Voice of College Football. Who's on the line?
Yeah, hi, it's Porter.
There we go.
No, it's not Porter. No, it's not Porter. It's Tim. How you doing?
Okay. Tim, what's going on?
well, just for Porter, what's the over under for the Dogs this year?
Georgia, I bet it's 10.5. That's my guess. That seems to be kind of the top of the line. Georgia's at 10.5.
What's your official Mark Rogers for that 10.5?
The official? There is no official, but oh man, they are really wanting you to play the over. So the over is paying out minus 205. That's a huge number. Can't they find? I would think that they would have wanted to push this down to 10. So you got to play. I don't know if you're big into betting. You don't have to be that big, but the minus 205 means you got to put out $205 to win $100, as opposed to the 10.5. The under is paying out $165 for a $100 bet. So anyway,
the other schedule. I'm wondering what two teams they have that they're going to lose to.
Well, they could lose to. They go to Kentucky this year. They've got who do they play in the East or the West? They've always got Auburn, and this year they play. I'm going to have to look it up. I'm not remembering. Georgia plays, I think, Mississippi State. Yeah, they have Mississippi State and Auburn. Well, I give them about a 15% chance to lose to Oregon. Something in that range. 15 to 20% chance. And then the other most likely would either be Tennessee or Kentucky.
All right, let's go over. She said Oregon. If the Duck fans, what's the official word on the Oregon over under?
Oregon's 8.5.
8.5.
Yeah, we went through.
What do you think
on our first call? I'd have to look
at
the schedule. But well, they've got Georgia. They're losing that game. I just maybe I shouldn't be this confident. I just think this is going to be a rough opener for Dan Lanning. Like, I think this game has not some crazy annihilation score, but I think it's got like 38-17 written all over it. Well, they got to play BYU. Their 3 non-conference games are Georgia, Eastern Washington, BYU at home. So that won't be easy. They play everyone in division, of course, and they miss USC. And they've got Utah, Colorado, UCLA, and Arizona. So they miss Arizona State. USC and Arizona State. I think I'm going to go. You got Utah.
They're playing BYU at home.
They're playing
Utah and Georgia. Those are 2 losses.
They're playing Utah at home. They could pull off an upset there, and it may not even be an upset at that point of the season. I was inclined to say under, but I'm going to go over. I think that's a tough one. It is a tough one.
Yeah, I see 10 wins. Definitely. Well, not definitely, but most likely 9.
Yeah.
All right. Then the last one.
Yep.
What about my Trojans?
USC, I'm going to guess you're at 9.5 is my guess.
I heard that
9.5. I'm on it. Okay. 9.5. All right. Let's check out the schedule.
Hey, Mark.
Know it. Yeah.
Yeah, Mark. Vegas likes Riley more than you do.
They do. Why do you say that?
Like going from 4-8, you look at 9.5 as their over under.
I didn't say that he couldn't go 9-3 or 10-2.
No, okay.
I did. I haven't made any predictions on anyone.
Mark, I'm always busting your chops about you putting Riley at 11. I'm gonna keep doing that until Riley proves you right or proves me right. We're gonna go one way or the other with that one. my running side joke for you.
That's not the worst
Dude,
thing
Mark,
in the
you put
world.
him outside the top 10.
I did.
Mark, I don't think anybody put him out of the top 10, man. I get not top 5. I get that fully. I'm looking at race 6 or 7, but
I'm not
number
always
11.
looking to be a contrarian, but it just works out that way sometimes. So yeah, I'm not quite as high on Lincoln Riley as the rest of the college football universe. So we'll see if he can prove it to me here. Who do they miss? USC misses Oregon, of course, and they miss
Oregon.
They miss in the north. They've got Cal, Washington State, Oregon State. They're missing. They of course play Stanford, so they're missing Washington State. Okay.
Yeah, Oregon and Washington.
They play Washington. Washington. Okay.
Oregon and Washington.
Yeah, they would have beaten Washington anyway. The Oregon game, they most likely, that's a 50-50, maybe a 60-40. Okay. So Notre Dame's a tough one, but it's at the Coliseum. And they're going to be well put together and gelled and rolling by that point. The offense should be in full mode. 9.5, huh? Utah on the road. That's probably a loss, but they could win. Let's not talk about Utah like they're invincible. They lose to Notre Dame and Utah, and it's still an over. Who's going to beat UCLA at the Rose Bowl? Man, they may come out of the gates.
Have you seen that?
They may come out of the gates at what, 6-0 going to Utah.
Yeah, Mark, have you seen that UCLA defense?
Well, yeah, I'm not saying UCLA's great, but did I see that USC defense against UCLA last year?
Well, the good news is for USC is that defense and the defensive coordinator, pretty much
absolutely
all the coaches except for Williams are gone.
Sure.
But I mean, that's a race right there. Yeah.
And we
could probably roll out my kids' Pop Warner team. We could do better on defense than we did last year.
Yeah. And we were going through that with our guy, Matt Zemek, on last week's show. All that defensive personnel that they've gained. It's significant. They're not going to have a great defense. I guess I'm going to have to go over, but man, that is 4-8 to 10-2. Wow. That 9.5 number. Yeah. Eric's telling us that number's dumb. Should be 7.5. And there's some wisdom there. How many times do teams go from 4-8 to 10-2? I guess Mel Tucker pulled it off. That kind of jump.
Yeah, he had a roster rebuild too, didn't he? I mean, he just kind of reloaded things.
Yeah.
I just can't see them winning that many games. It's college football. Like, we'd all sit back and talk about, even Georgia. No, I can't see more than 2 losses. I can't. But it's college football, So for that reason, I'm taking the under. I mean, I'm sticking with my 8-4.
Oh,
there's teams out there. I know
that
the Pac-12 gets planned.
Yep.
Yeah, I just there's just too much. There's too many moving parts. I can see a couple slip ups. I could see some, a weird early loss. You got
at Oregon
we talked
State.
about 2 brand new schemes coming in. Yeah. That's the big loss. Yeah, that could happen. I mean, that's our favorite place to go lose a game, right? That's where Trojan dreams go to die in championship seasons is Corvallis. So, I could see a really weird loss, like to a team we shouldn't lose to. And then again, I'm ripping on the Bruins. But they could step up. I do. I just think there's somewhere in there. I do see a loss to Notre Dame, most likely. I'm almost for certain with the Utah loss. And then there's just too many games in there where you have a completely brand new defense. There's a lot of moving parts.
9.5. That's yep. Yeah, I will.
So I'll take it. All right. Well, I'm safe with a 9. Really, I'm even safe with 9. Right? Even with 9, I'm safe. So I'm definitely taking the under. I mean, with 9, I can see 3 losses on that schedule easily.
Yep. I got you.
All right, cool, Mark.
I might have to
Thanks
consider
for the call.
that. I will be going through these. I'm going to have to go through these later in the week and post some kind of video with my favorite selections. I did that last couple of years. All right, Tim. Appreciate the call, man.
All right. Talk to you later.
I should go back and look at who I picked What were my over-unders last year? Let's look at this. Meanwhile, the Clemson, North Carolina State game that I had on another tab is 7-7 with 13 minutes left in the third quarter. Okay. Let me see this over-unders from last year. Let me see if I'm throwing myself under the bus. Let's see what we went with here. Oh, here we go. From 1 year ago. Take these over-unders. See what I got here. Let's see. Over-unders. Minus. Illinois was at 3. Illinois was at 3. Where in the heck? Let me find my pick. No, this is scintillating viewing, I'm sure. What did I say? Where's my... I'm not finding my pick. Maybe I did them at the end. Colorado over under 4.5. They went 4-8, right? Colorado. I know I picked them under, didn't I? Crap. I need the sound up, I guess. I don't know. Where's the graphic? Yeah, I said Colorado under 4.5. Where's my Illinois pick? Hang on. So I got Colorado right. Let's see, Illinois. Where's Illinois? Freaking graphic. Go. Listen to me from last year. This is great viewing. I didn't put a graphic up here. Okay. All right. Got Illinois right, Colorado right. Let's hold off on Illinois because I said stay away, but I had a pick later. Let's see here. This is what you guys get for having me stay on. Take more calls. Nobody's calling. Okay. Kansas over under 1. Kansas was at 1. They won 2. I got to have picked them to go over. Yes. All right. I was nailing these last year. I know I went Kentucky. The real MVP, are you out there? Kentucky was 6.5 last year. This was one of my prime picks. I got to do some over-unders again this year. Looks like I'm going to be 4-0. I definitely said Kentucky over. There's no doubt about that. I'm advancing this 5 seconds at a time. Yes, absolutely. Kentucky over. They went 9-3, right? That was an easy one. Eric, if you want to call back, nobody else is calling, sure. Stanford next at 3.5. I'm 4-0 right now. See what we said about Stanford. They went 3-9. What did I pick them? I might have missed this one because that seemed to be really low. And even though their schedule was tough, I went over. I screwed that up, right? Stanford went 3-9, right? Not your average sports kid. Sorry about that. I should be posting the number. My apologies. We get enough calls typically that I forget to post the number. There it is. It's on the bottom of the screen there. 860-499-3332. Shoot, I screwed up on Stanford. So I'm 4-1. Syracuse went, they go 5-7 last year, 4-8. Syracuse. I said stay away from Syracuse, whatever that was. UCLA. I think I screwed up UCLA. It was 7. And they won 8. I screwed up UCLA, I think. Yeah, I screwed it up. Okay. Wisconsin. Where's my Wisconsin pick? I think I said stay away. Huh. I should have stayed with should have went through with Wisconsin, but I called it off. I was right. Okay. Over-unders 4-2 on the edge of being 5-2 if I would have pulled the trigger on Wisconsin. But could win some money with that. 4-2, 5-2 over-unders last year. I don't know if I did it the year before. I'll have to check that out. All right. Eric's not calling in. There's a rest in peace. I don't want to know who that is. And appreciate everybody being here at the Voice of College Football. We've got a huge lineup on Tuesday. USC at 4 Eastern. Iowa at 5:30 Eastern with Steve Dace, Michigan podcast. And then at 7 Eastern, Nebraska live right here at the Voice of College Football. Check out the specific live streams and the channels that correspond with your favorite team. Got a Clemson channel, Texas. It's on life support. We got to get that revved up. Alabama, Georgia, Nebraska, Ohio State, Michigan. All right. Appreciate everybody being here. And again, Amazon, use the link in the description section. Please help us build the channel. Also, yeah, you can write for us. If you would like to write for us at the Voice of College Football, just go to voiceofcollegefootball.com. Go to the top of the page. It says write for us. You sign up right there. You'll be in contact with me, and we will discuss that. So please do that if you are interested in writing for our website. Also, keep in mind, once again, as Eric let us know at the top of the show, you can join us on Discord. And it is a good time. You go to Patreon, sign up right there, search Mark Rogers TV on Patreon, and join the Discord. Oh, I guess we're sneaking in a call. Let's see who's got what here for our final call. Who's on the line?
It's Porter.
Hey, Porter. How are you?
All right. Yeah, there was something big that came out today that I don't think you even touched on. Of course, I didn't listen to the whole program, but the College Football Hall of Fame,
Yes.
I guess because it's here in Atlanta, just came out with their roster. Or,
Yep.
Sorry, their the ballot or the ones to be voted on. I'm not really sure what the slate of candidates, whatever you want to call them. But in terms of the local people, probably what's getting the most buzz is Mark Richt. There was one other local person. I'm trying to remember who it was that made the list. What are your feelings on Mark Richt getting in the Hall of Fame? And believe me, I'm not the biggest Mark Richt fan. Even though I think I like him as a coach, but I mean, if you say no, I'm not gonna argue with you. So.
Well, the first thing I'll say about coaches and their candidacy for the Hall of Fame is there is a criteria that they have. It's a rule. Now, there are rules and there are guidelines. I'm more of a guideline guy rather than a rule guy because sometimes you box yourself in with a rule. And there's a rule that you have to have a 60% winning percentage as a coach to make the Hall of Fame. Howard Schnellenberger started the Miami program. He rebuilt the Louisville program. He started the FAU program. He does not have a winning percentage quite at 60%. It's like a smidge under. Therefore, he does not qualify for the Hall of Fame. That's lunacy, idiocy. It's just stupid that people have these artificial rules and then they can't put a person's resume, their experience, their career into context. So back to Mark Richt. I think that the College Hall of Fame seems to be more lenient, have lesser standards than other Hall of Fames or the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It seems that way, but I would have to look to see what other coaches are in. But he's not a slam dunk Hall of Famer. Of course, he does not have a national championship, but I certainly am not a great proponent of national championships since most of them are pretty subjective. He finished in the top 10 more than half of his seasons at Georgia. I would tend to think that he's a Hall of Fame coach. Especially, I'm going to look up to see who's in the Hall of Fame right now as a coach.
It looks like, well, you know, my feeling is, I mean, if you were a great assistant and you, like the Virginia Tech defensive coordinator that was there forever, I can't remember his name. Brought the lunch bell, kind of his shtick.
Yeah, Bud Foster.
Yeah, or Bud Foster. And what I'm getting at with Mark Richt is, you know, he was a very successful assistant coach with Bobby Bowden.
Yep.
And do you think part of getting in the Hall of Fame would be a very successful assistant coach?
Yeah.
So he had that. He didn't play a lot when he played under center at Miami. I think he might have played a couple games behind Steve Kelly.
Sure.
But I don't know. I'm not sure myself, and that gets back to, I guess, a conversation I brought up on one of the chats. I guess it was when I first started, I guess, calling in or getting involved in listening to your program. Is I threw it out there. I said, "Who's the best coach not to win a national championship?" And I think the list we came up with was pretty good. We had like Pat Dye and Schembeckler and Nealon from West Virginia.
Bill Snyder.
Yeah, Bill Snyder. Yeah, you know, I don't know. My biggest problem with Rick was he didn't space out his SEC championships. He was there for many years. He was there for maybe 13, 14 years. And he won his SEC championships kind of in the early part of his tenure. And in 2002, 2005, had a really good season in 2007. In fact, I was so hoping we were going to play Southern Cal in the Rose Bowl that year. And the Big Ten commissioner stepped in and didn't let it happen, sent Illinois to play. But that would have been a great game. But and he had some good teams towards the end too. But part of what Mark Richt took advantage of in the early part of his years is, I don't know if you remember, in the early 2000s, Spurrier left to go to the NFL. Pat Dye. I'm sorry, not Pat Dye. I mean, Auburn's coach was pretty good at Tuberville. Alabama was could not keep coaches.
Mm-hmm.
I guess what I'm getting at, the SEC coaches were very, very average in the early 2000s. And he really made a lot of hay during that time. In fact, there's no coincidence that Georgia finally gets to Atlanta to play in the SEC championship the year after Steve Spurrier goes to the NFL. So I don't know how good he was. I just really think he was coaching against a very watered down SEC. It wasn't bad. Philip Fulmer was an excellent coach, but Philip Fulmer was kind of in the twilight of his career. And really Saban was not as good a coach at LSU as he was at Bama. Now, I know he won a national championship at LSU, but he was not as consistently good as he is now at LSU. I mean, the LSU dropped some games, you know, when he was there up until when he left in 2004. They dropped some games where you just kind of shook your head. But he went to the NFL and became a much better coach. So by the time he came back to Alabama, I mean, it's not the same Nick Saban. So,
well, yeah, I know that the SEC, wasn't quite as good then as it's been in the last decade. But man, he still coached through, the dominance of the SEC in terms of national championship started, of course, in 06. And he still coached most of his tenure during that time. He still coached 10 of his 15 seasons during the dominance of the SEC. And if there was a playoff, he might have been there in 02. Possibly, well, not 05, but 07. Obviously 2012.
Think about that 02. Mark, think about what that 02 playoff could have been. It could have been Miami, Ohio State, Southern Cal, and Georgia.
Yeah.
I mean, that would have been one heck of a playoff.
I guess that's what it would have been. I know that USC lost 2 games. I don't know if they would have made it. I guess they would have been the 4th team. Yeah, that would have been
amazing.
Amazing.
The quarterback won the Heisman.
Yeah, Carson
I remember
Palmer.
the quarterback won the Heisman. So much
Yeah.
momentum. What's that?
Yeah, Carson Palmer won the Heisman. Yeah.
Yeah. They were unstoppable towards the. They were kind of like our 07 team. They were, by the end of the season, they were just unstoppable. But for some reason, I'm trying to remember why Southern Cal went to the Orange Bowl that year. I then did go to this Rose Bowl.
They went because so yeah, the Rose Bowl that year was Washington State and Oklahoma. I guess Washington State must have won the Pac-12. USC lost 2 games that season. So there might have been a tie for
it might have been Oklahoma. It might have been Oklahoma in that playoff then, in 02.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to see what the trying to find the rankings for that year to see who did.
I'm just wondering. I mean, I'm just you and I are like 2 old friends talking.
Oh yeah, I could dig into this stuff all night. Absolutely. That would have been an amazing playoff. Oh man. And they could have been there in 07. You could have had, 07 was just total upheaval, as you know. So it could have been whatever, LSU, Ohio State, Georgia, and somebody else. And 12, shoot, they might have got a rematch with Alabama. It could have been Bama, Notre Dame, Georgia, and somebody, probably Oregon, with Ohio State on probation.
No, probably Florida would have got in over us, even though we beat them because they.
Yeah.
Florida only had 1.
That's right. In 12,
they went to the Sugar Bowl.
Florida went to the Sugar Bowl, but you guys won the division, and your second loss would have been against Bama
we got
in the championship game.
No, we got beat bad by South Carolina. Yeah, I mean, we got beat bad by South Carolina, then we lost to Bama close, but because Florida got the BCS bid the bowl that year because they just finished higher, which was justifiable. I mean, they had a very good team. They only lost to us by can't remember how many, very little in Jacksonville.
It was an ugly game. Yeah, it was a low scoring game.
Yeah, it was. But hey, I was in the chat talking about that 1980 Rose Bowl. I mean, I think you and I are the same age. I was 7. I was 9 years old. I think you were 9 years old too. How bad did you take that loss?
Which Rose Bowl?
The one where Art Schleister.
Oh my goodness, that was devastating. Oh man, did I take that hard? Absolutely. That's one of the worst losses of my life. 17-16 in the Rose Bowl to lose the national championship. Oh my goodness. That was awful. Yeah, that was heartbreaking. Heartbreaking. Yeah.
That was I was telling everybody in the chat that was the first Rose Bowl I ever saw was that game. I was 9 years old.
Yeah, that was classic stuff, man. That USC team was loaded. I don't know how Ohio State kept up with them and had a 6-point lead with just a couple minutes left. And then USC, they just I don't even know if they threw a pass that last drive. They went, I think, 83 yards on 17 plays, and I think it's pretty much Charles White, like 15 of the 17 just running, sweeps and straight dives and off tackle plays, just hammering down the field for 4, 13, 6 over and over and over, and then over the top for the game winner, and that was that. Yeah, that was a heartbreaker.
You and I were talking one night about what our best SI covers. And I think you got SI like I did as a kid. You read it cover to cover. Do you remember that great SI with Charles White and Billy Sims?
Oh yeah,
wrestling over the Heisman.
Oh yeah.
I mean, what a great cover.
Oh yeah.
And then
I think it read, "Hey man, that's my Heisman" or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, you're exactly right. He did say that. But anyway, good times. I tell you, football back then. I mean, growing up as a kid, I mean, it just seemed so. I don't know, just an innocent, wonderful time. And I have great memories of the 80s and the 90s, and maybe not the 90s because Georgia was terrible in the 90s. But yeah, great time to be a college football fan. So. All right, my friend. Have a good night.
Porter. Thanks so much for the call, man. Have a good night.
See you. Bye. Bye.
Oh, my goodness. When Ohio State lost to USC in the Rose Bowl, January 1st, 1980. I remember walking to the bus stop. Like it was just painful just to get out of bed and just live that day. And the next day and the next day. I don't know when I finally got over it. Maybe I haven't. But that's one of the biggest losses as a sports fan in my life. That's way up there. We had a conversation with all of you a couple of years ago where I wanted to hear everybody's stories about their most excruciating losses. I'll have to do that again. Most exhilarating wins, the wins that meant. And it's for a college football fan, it's not always just to win the conference championship or the national championship. Sometimes it's some random game that just meant something to you because of whatever. But that would be high on the Ohio State losses. Now, there's an NFL loss that I got to say, I always answer that question in that the NFL loss in 1981 trumps every other one. Now, see here in 2002, Iowa was 11-1 and USC was 10-2. So even though Ohio State, that would be the committee. Let's say if we had a playoff committee and we had a playoff back then, they'd have to take two teams from the same conference. Maybe they would have. Maybe the playoff might have been Miami, the 1 seed, Ohio State, the 2, Georgia, the 3, and Iowa, the 4 at 11-1. And, of course, USC took out Iowa pretty easily in the Orange Bowl. Welcome into the Voice of College Football. Who's on the line?
Jeffrey.
Hey, Jeffrey. What's going on?
This is the first time I've ever called in on anything before, but I love football. I'm younger, but my favorite basketball team, which I know no one cares about, is Indiana.
Okay.
So, unfortunately, that trickles over to football. How do you think they're going to do this year?
Well, I haven't really taken a deep dive on Indiana, but of course, last season was hard to watch, and now Michael Penix has gone off to Washington, and Connor Basilek's going to be your quarterback. But I know that Tom Allen just brought in the best recruiting class in the history of the school, so they're not going to get a whole lot of mileage out of that class this season. But you're not going to be worse than you were last year, so I got to think that a good season would be getting back to a bowl game at 6-6. I think that's what Indiana should be gunning for.
Now, if they do worse than that, do you think that they'll fire him or they'll keep him?
Oh, if they do worse than 6-6?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think Indiana is pretty kind and understanding of what they've got. So I think Tom Allen's going to have to lose more than just 2 consecutive years to get fired.
So I think the over/under on Indiana football is 4. So do you think that they have a better chance of going over that or under?
Well, let's see here. Yeah, I'm looking at it. 4. Okay. Do we know who they play in the non-conference schedule?
They play Idaho, at Cincinnati, and Western Kentucky at home. So the same opponents as last year, but flip Western Kentucky and Cincinnati on the road and home.
That's right. Okay, they've got Cincinnati. So Cincinnati's
that game was a lot easier when they first scheduled it.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And as you well know, even though the final score didn't look great last year, they had a lead, or they were inside the 10 to take the lead with about 5 or 6 minutes left in that game, and fumbled, or they might have pulled off the upset. Or at that time, it wasn't even that much of an upset because that's before Indiana imploded. But going to Cincinnati, then they've got to play their 3 non-division games are Illinois at home. Of course, Purdue. Who's the other one? Nebraska on the road. Let's say they win 2 games out of conference, and then 1, 2. Man, that number's right on. I think they're looking at 4-8. That's what it looks like. Maybe Rutgers, Illinois, or Rutgers, Maryland in terms of wins in the Big Ten. That's probably the 2 you're looking at, 2 of those 3, and then 2 games out of conference.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. I mean, it's tough. Every year, I try to come up with 6 wins for them, but I'm hoping that the Big Ten gets rid of division, so maybe the schedule will be a little bit easier for them, because the Big Ten East is just hard and they just don't have a lot of great players. But I mean, I could definitely see maybe 5. I mean, Maryland looks a little bit maybe like they're going to be a little bit better this year, so that's not good. But that Illinois game is massive, because if they lose that, then it just doesn't look very good again, and they're probably going to have a bad season again. But it's funny because my dad's favorite team is Alabama, and I like Alabama too, being from the South. But unfortunately, I have a sucker for the underdog, and since I've always watched Indiana basketball, who used to be good as well, but they've kind of, I just have a feeling a lot of love for the underdog, and Indiana football is like the ultimate underdog, and it's just so nice to see them win. When Penix went to the end zone in the Penn State game, man, and got the 2-point conversion, it was like, man, it just seemed like they were going to be good, and then they just fell apart last year. So I definitely hope that they don't have another bad season like that. But yeah, that was one of the ugliest things I've ever watched in my life. That turned off like most of the games for the end of the season at half, because it was just horrible to watch. That Rutgers game when they got blown out, that was like it for me. They just gave up.
Yeah, when you're losing to Rutgers by like 38-3 or something like that, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, it was so bad. And the funny thing was they played Maryland close in the game prior, 38-35. But I think after they lost that Maryland game, the bowl eligibility was up, and after that it was just over. And some teams try to fight, to like build momentum for next season, but they just lost all of it. And they had like one of the most transfers, like most players transferring out of the program of all like the teams last year. They had like 27 players leave. But then, Tom Allen had to get as many people as possible. And he did get, I think, he got the quarterback from Missouri, Connor Bazelak, which I think about the best he could do. I mean, there was probably nobody else better than that would have even transferred in anyway, in my opinion. And then they got that running back from Auburn. So, I mean, it's decent. But the offensive line, if it stinks again, which they didn't really get anybody there, then there's probably going to be more injured quarterbacks. Yeah.
All right. Good stuff. Anything else, man?
Last thing, just kind of off topic to talk about some better teams. I mean, with the NIL and everything, which my parents have way varying opinions on that for, my dad, of course, it's not as big a deal because Alabama and everything, but my mom don't like it. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. But a lot of programs, man, being helped by a lot of the older teams, the teams that used to be good, but they're not good anymore. But USC and Miami, it's just crazy to see how they could just flip the script like this. Going from losing records and barely 500 records to maybe 9-10 wins. I did hear the conversation earlier about USC, how they, that one guy was talking about them maybe just winning 8 games because of all the players trying to get used to the coach, used to the setting. But man, they are loaded fast. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, they're loaded on offense in a hurry, no doubt. Well, I appreciate the call, man.
Thank you. I'll definitely want to call back in soon.
Yeah, call back anytime. We'll talk some IU football. We need to educate these people on Indiana
no
football.
one else wants to do it.
Oh, that's all right. We'll do it. Have a good one.
Thank you. Bye.
So that's what I love right there. Off the beaten path. We got some Indiana football talk, but unfortunately, I was starting to, not that I can't look this stuff up online, but I love the preseason magazines, as many of you do. Street and Smith, Lindy's, of course, Phil Steele. We'll have Phil Steele on here in the next month, something in that range. He's still finishing up his edition, which is my go-to Bible playbook of sorts. But, all those preseason magazines, Athlons in particular as well. But, this is the state of college football in Connecticut. I went to a number of grocery stores, pharmacies, CVS, Walgreens, all those. No magazines, no college football magazines. I go to Barnes & Noble's thinking, okay, I don't mind taking the 40-minute trip to a Barnes & Noble's because they'll have all the magazines and I can just stock up and buy them all. None. They've got 6 racks of magazines. You can buy the most inane, idiotic magazines in the history of mankind. No college football magazines. They had a sports section that was probably 8 feet wide from top to bottom. Nothing. No college football magazines. I went up and asked the woman, I said, do you expect to get in some college football magazines? I went through all the magazines, no college football magazines. All the preview magazines came out here in the last couple of weeks. She had no idea. All right. Last call here at the Voice of College Football. And keep in mind that we want to know who you root for. So please hit me up at MarkRogersTV at Gmail. Let me know who you root for. We got 34,000 subs, and we want to present to you the best content available, possible, and know who we're speaking to in terms of numbers in each fan base. So I posted this on the community page today for some responses, but hit me up at MarkRogersTV at Gmail. Let me know who is your team. Last call of the night. Welcome in.
Hey, Mark, it's Michael.
Michael.
Hey, Mark, it's Michael. How you doing?
Good to hear from you. How are you?
Yeah, good. Yourself?
I am doing just fine.
I bet it is good to hear an IU caller for once and stuff like that. Just wanted to see, so you guys are going basically over-under on the schedules for this year for all the teams and stuff I see.
Yeah, we were going
I just want to know,
Go ahead.
What are you thinking for Purdue?
All right. Purdue's at 7.5.
I'm taking the over.
Of course you are. Did I expect anything else? So your schedule.
No, there's been times in the past.
Your schedule looks like 7.5. All right. Hang on. Penn State, of course. Okay, let's go to the non-conference games first. Indiana State at Syracuse, FAU. Should be 3-0. But Syracuse could be tricky on the road, but should be 3-0. All right. Non-division games. Penn State at home on that Thursday night. That's going to be a fun game. I can't wait for that game. I'm going to be locked in. That is going to be my game of the night. Penn State, Purdue on Thursday night. That's going to be phenomenal. Love that.
Yeah,
matchup.
it is. And I'm going to be at the game too.
Oh, nice. Love that matchup.
Yep.
All right. The other non-division games at Maryland, and then, of course, the old Oak and Bucket. So you're going to go 2-1, maybe 3-0 in those games. So let's say out of those 6, let's say you go 5-1. And then you've got the other division games.
Yep.
Nobody's going to be great. You can win all these games, but at the same time, of course, you could lose many of these games too. So you should win at Illinois. 6. Yeah, it looks like you're at least going to go 8-4.
Okay, I'm going to ask you this. I see 2 potential, 1 loss, maybe 2.
Okay.
And they're both road games for Purdue this year.
Yeah.
It's either Minnesota or Wisconsin.
Sure.
I don't see them losing I see one of them. I see them maybe splitting, if not maybe winning both, but only time will tell. One of those 2 streaks have to break this year.
Well, I haven't dived into your personnel, but what are you concerned about? Of course, you lost a couple great receivers and Karlaftis. So where do you stand on where are you concerned?
My concern right now is there going to be enough footballs for all the receivers, and maybe because the defense is going to be pretty good. I think maybe the running game is what's mostly going to concern me. If they can get the running game going with the passing game, look out, because it's going to be. I don't see anybody that can stop Purdue offensively.
Okay.
They got to get that game. They got to get the running game going and stuff like that. With them having Samson James and then King Daru back this year, it should open things up and stuff like that too for Purdue. So
I gotcha, man. Well, I appreciate the call. Anything else?
That's just it. And I wish I can start finding out more of your schedule and stuff. I haven't been getting any notifications again as of late.
Well, that's too bad.
Stuff, so.
Well, I will tell you this.
I mean, I see you sometimes on Twitter and stuff, but
that I hope that, let's see, it's going to be about 6 weeks from now, sometime in mid-July. I'm hoping to release a set schedule for all the call-in shows every week, and then once we get to football season, we'll reevaluate and figure out when we can do regular call-in shows at the set time every week.
Yeah. But all they got to, first thing first is they got to beat Penn State from the home opener, the season opener. That's going to be crucial. That's going to set the tone for the season, I think.
Sure. Yeah.
Yep.
It will be a good one. Sure. Thank you, Michael.
Yep. Take care.
You too.
Bye.
All right. Michael, wrapping it up for us. Joey, you're kind. I would be the magazine. Now I got to read those magazines to digest all that personnel that I forgot about it. That's what makes it difficult. If we were doing an NFL show, it would be so much easier to remember everybody because there's less players, less teams, less players, less teams, less players on each team. So there's really a lot less players. And then on top of that, they stay in the league longer. They're not around for 2 or 3 years as starters. They're around for 5, 6, 8, 10, 12 years. Be easier to keep track of. My favorite caller. Come on. You want me to give you the corny parents line that you're all my children, so I have no favorites? Roger, Mark, if you can pin your daily schedule on your main channel, that would help a lot. I typically do. Do you guys see that? I do almost every day. The only days that I don't, a day like today when I didn't know that I was going to go live at this point and we had no other, I put all the live streams on every day. So tomorrow, I'll probably do it late tonight. I will post on the main channel Tuesday live schedule, 4 p.m. Eastern time, USC Trojans live, 5:30 Eastern, Iowa, 7, Nebraska. All right. I can tell I've gotten to a point where I really can't talk and be discernible or intelligible in any way. So Joey can't figure out the Discord. We got to get that figured out, Joey, to get you on Discord. So are you signed up on Patreon, Joey? If you're signed up on Patreon, then I get you a link. You're all set. So everybody head on over to Patreon, sign up there, go to MarkRogersTV on Patreon. I get you a link. I'm going to post it after the show. I'm going to put a link there right now. And for anybody that signs up on Patreon, you're all set. Okay. All right. Joey's in there. And we got a big day on Tuesday again. It's USC at 4 Eastern, Iowa 5:30 Eastern. Special guest Steve Dace. I think we're going to simulcast that on the main channel. Then at 7 o'clock Eastern, Nebraska live. See you then. Have a great night. I'm off to do some projects for the Voice of College Football. So some things that are coming on down the road. So we will see you then.